Chapter 295. A subway stopped steadily on the platform of Dongyan Station. The passengers crowded in the carriage got off one after another, but the gap they left behind was filled by new passengers in the blink of an eye. Then the subway train rumbled into the dark tunnel. In Beijing, a super metropolis with a population of more than 30 million, the subway system was the first way for people to travel. Every day, countless citizens took the subway to and from work. The latest line had already been extended to the 7th Ring Road, which was still under planning. Lin Yu and her female companions followed the crowd and took the escalator to the exit. She was holding a huge cartoon rabbit in her arms, which made her the focus of many people's attention, but this girl didn't care about the strange gazes of others. Her pretty face was still flushed with excitement. Today was Valentine's Day, February 14th. It was a very special day. Lin Yu did not have a boyfriend, so she wanted to hide in her dormitory and spend this romantic night online. However, she could not resist the encouragement of her female companions, so she went to the city center to go shopping. Now, she was extremely grateful to her companions. If not for their persistence, she might not have had the chance to see Lu Qin in person, and she even sang a love song with Lu Qin on stage. Recalling the scene at that time, Lin Yu's heart jumped like a deer. She liked Lu Qin because of the TV series, Autumn in My Heart. Although she was not a fanatic fan, among all the celebrities she liked, Lu Qin was firmly in the top 3. Now he was number 1. "Let's go quickly," one of her female companions urged. "The finale of Autumn in My Heart is about to begin." The other 2 female companions could not help but speed up. One of them said, "Xiao Yu's luck is too good." I also raised my hand at that time. "Why didn't you choose me?" The female companion in front laughed and said, "With your tone-deaf voice, you will be thrown off the stage if you go up." "Well, you actually dare to laugh at me. Take this." The 2 female companions played along the road, and their bell-like laughter spread far and wide on the street. Lin Yu could not help but smile and hugged the cartoon rabbit in her arms even tighter. Lin Yu was from Zhongqing. After finishing college in Beijing, she chose to stay here to work. Currently, she was a clerk in a company. Her 3 female companions were her colleagues, and they lived together in an apartment outside the 5th Ring Road. As an introverted girl, Lin Yu did not have many hobbies. She spent most of her free time on literature, music, and movies, especially watching all kinds of TV series. As an introverted girl, Lin Yu did not have many hobbies. She spent most of her time on literature, music, and movies. For this reason, she used her first month's salary to buy an LCD TV and put it in the small living room of the apartment. She used to watch it alone, but later, her female companions were influenced by her and also watched it with her. Everyone watched TV together, laughed and cursed at the plot together, and their relationship became exceptionally good. This experience was that they could only by watching TV could be of their own. And now, what the 4 women liked and pursued the most was Autumn in My Heart, starring Lu Qin. Tonight was the finale of Autumn in My Heart. Then they arrived at the ring of bye bye bye. All of them. Of the same time. By them. The TV was turned on immediately. It's starting. What do you mean it's starting? They're still playing the commercials. We finally made it in time. My feet are sore from running. Who's going to give me a massage? 5 yuan for a massage. Go to hell. Lin Yu sat on the sofa with the big rabbit in her arms. She buried her chin into the soft fur and stared at the TV without blinking, thinking about the ending of the story that was about to be played tonight. Since they chose to broadcast the finale of Bye 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 on Valentine's Day, Hygiene TV deliberately delayed the broadcast of the last episode to 9:30 p.m. to ensure the ratings. Lin Yu and her female companions were not too late. After the 5-minute commercial ended, the familiar opening music played in the small living room. The 20th episode of Bye 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 began. Eun-hui often endured the pain in order to spend the remaining time with Joon-shi happily. This made Joon-shi even sadder. Eun-hui began to vomit blood. Her condition worsened day by day. She began to take photos to secretly prepare for her funeral. Eun-hui happened to find the medicine that Joon-shi had secretly prepared for her in Joon-shi's room. She understood Joon-shi's thoughts and forced Joon-shi to promise not to die for her. Joon-shi agreed with tears in his eyes. In the end, the two of them went to the beach where they used to play as children. Eun-hui listened to Joon-shi's childhood stories. The living room was terrifyingly quiet when they saw this, and the four women all turned pale. Although they knew very well that the ending of Bye 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 was likely to be a tragedy, everyone hoped that there would be a reversal in the end, and the male and female leads would end up happily together. But when the scene of life and death really happened, they all burst into tears. Lin Yu's eyes were misty with tears, and her heart was clenched to the extreme. She tried not to cry out loud as she watched Eun-hui stop breathing on Joon-shi's back. She watched the latter stagger forward on the beach while carrying the woman he loved all his life. Then, she burst into tears. Why did it turn out like this? One of her female companions asked in a low voice, constantly wiping the tears from the corners of her eyes with a tissue. Lin Yu also wanted to ask this question. She felt that Lu Qin was too cruel. Why did the two of them have to be separated by death in the end? Why couldn't two people who truly loved each other be together? The story in the television wasn't over yet. Eun-hui quietly lived out her life. After settling the funeral matters, Joon-shi entrusted Tae-hee to scatter Eun-hui's ashes into the sea, and he went alone to the country road that he had walked with Eun-hui when he was young. The scenes of his childhood games with Eun-hui flashed before his eyes. A loading and unloading truck sped along the road. When Joon-shi was about to rush to the front of the truck, he remembered his promise to Eun-hui and continued to live bravely. So, Lu Qin made some changes to it. Many times, it also required great courage to live. The story ended here, and the theme song, Your Eyes, played, drawing a sad end to the TV series. After watching it, Lin Yu and her companions were speechless for a long time. Lin Yu returned to her room, but she didn't feel sleepy at all. She couldn't help but turn on her computer and log on to the internet. The internet was in an uproar. As the winner of the domestic TV series ratings at the end of 2015 and the beginning of 2016, of Bye 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 Bye, already had a large number of fans. The TV drama-related blogs, Tiba, and forums were all places for these fans to discuss the plot and the characters in the TV series. When the finale of Bye 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 was broadcasted, these places seemed to have been carpet-bombed by a heavy bomb. It was simply a scene of mourning. Is it really good to see such a sad ending on Valentine's Day? My eyes are swollen from crying. When I watched it in my room, my mom thought that something had happened to me. Don't mention it. I'll be depressed for at least a week or two. I strongly protest. Give me back my Eun-hui. Although I already knew the ending and it wasn't unexpected, I still feel very sad. I'm a man, and I also cried watching it. I cried watching it +1. On Waves' blog, Lu Chen's blog was about to explode. It was rare for him to be scolded by so many people. It was too cruel, too heart-wrenching. Even many artists in the entertainment industry also posted on their blogs, saying that they were depressed by the ending of the TV series. Whether they were really fans of the series or just riding on the limelight, it was enough to show the influence that, of Bye 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 Bye, had currently had in and out of the industry. Now that the TV series had finally come to an end, it might be a great thing for the competitors, but for the thousands of viewers, there were really too many nostalgia and regrets. At 11:00 in the evening, Lu Qin received a call from Chen Fei. You have to compensate me. On the phone, Chen Fei's voice was slightly hoarse, and it had lost its heavenly sweetness. Lu Chen was stunned. Compensate for what? Chen Fei has said, I watched the finale and shed a lot of tears. It made me so sad. Don't you want to compensate me? Lu Chen didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Haven't you already seen it? Other than himself, Chen Fei was the first to know the ending. Moreover, after filming, she had also seen the original unedited film, so she didn't feel much sadness at that time. Moreover, she was the heroine herself. After watching it tonight, the feeling is really different. It's as if I really experienced this tragedy, Chen Fei softly narrated her sadness on the phone. Lu Chen was a little amused and very touched. Then I'll come over to accompany you now. No need. After pouring out her heart, Chen Fei's mood seemed to be a lot better. It's late, you should rest early. Lu Chen's heart moved and he said, after 10 minutes, you can read my blog. Ah. Chen Fei was surprised. What do you want to say? Lu Chen smiled. You'll know in 10 minutes. Pretending to be mysterious. Chen Fei said coquettishly, then I'll wait for 10 minutes and see what tricks you play. After ending the call with Chen Fei, Lu Chen turned on the computer and logged into his Waves blog account. He quickly browsed the comments section of the latest blog post and couldn't help but smile bitterly. Hygiene Satellite TV chose to broadcast the finale of Autumn in My Heart today. They had earned enough ratings and topics, but they had pushed themselves into the fire pit. After thinking about it, Lu Chen clicked on the blog post edit page and typed 9 words in the title column. The furthest distance in the world. Chapter 296. The furthest distance in the world is not the distance between life and death. It's that I'm standing in front of you, but you don't know that I love you. The furthest distance in the world is not that I'm standing in front of you, but you don't know that I love you. It's that I'm obsessed with you, but I can't say that I love you. The furthest distance in the world is not that I can't say that I love you. It's that I want you to feel heart-wrenching pain, but you can only bury it deep in your heart. The furthest distance in the world is not that I can't say that I miss you. It's that we love each other, but we can't be together. The furthest distance in the world is not that we love each other, but we can't be together. It's that we clearly love each other, but we pretend that we don't care. The furthest distance in the world is the distance between a bird and a fish, one soars in the sky, the other dives deep into the sea. February 14, 2016, Valentine's Day, 11:17 p.m. Lu Chen wrote a poem on his blog. The poem was called The Furthest Distance in the World. At the end of this blog post, he wrote, I dedicate this poem to all the fans of Autumn in My Heart. I wish all the lovers in the world can be together, and true love will not be separated by distance. Due to the finale of Autumn in My Heart, Lu Chen's blog became the focus of countless people that night. Therefore, when he posted this poem blog post, it immediately attracted a lot of clicks, comments, and forwards. To this day, no one could doubt Lu Chen's talent in music. Not only did he sing, but he also composed and wrote lyrics. All of his works were written by himself, and he never lent them to others. Autumn in My Heart has let everyone see his strength in literary creation and performance. As a rising star in the circle, Lu Chen's rise in popularity is really convincing. Romance in my heart, but critics will always exist, whether they are jealous, or have ulterior motives. There is no shortage of voices criticizing Lu Chen on blogs, and the main firepower hit his serialized novel, Autumn in My Heart. Romance in My Heart, what melodramatic, hypocritical, deliberately sensational. There were so-called literati who disdained Lu Chen's novels. Lu Chen never responded to these voices of doubt and criticism. If he remained unknown, then no one would criticize him at all. Since he had stepped into the entertainment industry, wanting to be liked by everyone was undoubtedly a fool's dream. He did his own thing seriously and worked hard to manage his own business. This, The Furthest Distance in the World, was Lu Chen's first real poem. In his dream world, there were many stories to this poem. The original creator had many different opinions, and then after it was spread on the internet, it derived many versions, becoming a classic that countless people were familiar with. Lu Chen used this song to complete the final promotion of Autumn in My Heart. It was a remembrance and a memorial. There was a distance in the world that was even more distant than life and death. It was not a distance that spanned the past and the present in time, nor was it a distance that encompassed the universe in space. Instead, it was a distance that was the hardest to cross, the distance between hearts. Life and death was a distance that could never be merged. Although they were close at hand, they were like strangers. This was the distance between the heart of an unrequited lover and the person he loved. Love but could not get along. Lovers could not get married. This was an eternal regret. The distance between lovers, obviously in love but pretending not to care, was contradictory and painful. It was a distance that defied the sincerity. Even further than this was the indifference of the heart. It was the contempt for love. In the face of the person who loved you, you resolutely dug a ditch that could not be crossed, and rejected love far away from the furthest distance in the world. Distance could produce beauty, but the furthest distance in the world was painful. Lu Chen wanted this TV series and this poem to let people understand how precious and rare it was to be able to be together and love each other. Cherish what you have, so that you would not regret after losing it. He wanted this Valentine's Day to have a different meaning because of his existence. The reputation of a good poem needed time to ferment. But for the fans, especially the true fans, this, The Furthest Distance in the World, had undoubtedly given them the most special feeling. It had instantly struck them in the heart. Especially after they just watched the finale of Autumn in My Heart. The feeling was especially deep. The furthest distance in the world is when I am standing in front of you, but you do not know that I love you. Xiaolan, I love you. I really want to cry. Big Lu Chen, you are so bad. Why did you do this? This is the saddest Valentine's Day I have ever had. I think the meaning of this poem is to let us cherish the people around us, and understand that true love is hard to find. Good poem doesn't need to explain. Many fans left comments under Lu Chen's poem. The number of comments, likes, and forwards kept rising. Some bloggers who did not listen to Lu Chen's songs and had not seen Autumn in My Heart had deep feelings when they saw The Furthest Distance in the World forwarded by others. In today's era, poets were a very different existence, even the object of ridicule. Especially modern poetry, in the eyes of many people, was a particularly niche and boring thing. It belonged to the self-entertainment of a small group of literati. So much so that some people said that as long as you knew how to hit enter, you could write poetry. The era of poetry had long gone. A great variety of entertainment filled the lives of modern people. Their spiritual needs no longer needed to be satisfied through poetry. And really good poetry, poetry that could touch people's hearts, was also on the verge of extinction. Lu Chen's The Furthest Distance in the World was undoubtedly able to make people's eyes light up. It was meaningful and profound. For those who understood poetry, it was simply deafening. However, good poetry was a necessity. So other than Lu Chen's fans, other people's evaluation was still brewing. But the influence had already been produced, and it was spreading at an alarming speed. After posting this poem blog post, Lu Chen did not continue to pay attention to his blog. He turned off his computer and cooked some supper to appease his hunger. Then he went to the bathroom to take a hot shower. Valentine's Day 2016, just like that. Paw. Paw. Just as he was about to lie in bed to rest, there was a sudden knock on his door. Who could it be so late? Lu Qin did not think about it and went straight to open the door. The next moment, a delicate figure suddenly jumped into his arms. A familiar fragrance rushed into his nose. Lu Qin instinctively hugged this uninvited guest, only to hear an intoxicating whisper in his ear. "I love you." Hearing this voice, Lu Qin felt as if he had the whole world in his hands. There was nothing else to ask for. Note, the original creator of The Furthest Distance in the World is said to be Tagore and Zhang Shaoxian. The latter has published works as proof, and there is also Qing Dongwu's adaptation. This article chose one of the versions. Chapter 297. Early morning. The stubborn biological clock made Lu Qin wake up from his sleep on time. He had a good night's dream. When he woke up from the dream, the feeling was very different from usual. A fragrant and graceful female body was quietly curled up in his arms, snuggling tightly against each other in the warm blanket. This ecstasy made Lu Chen's desire stir again. The beauty in his arms felt the pressure from him. She turned her head and opened her eyes with a soft moan. "Good morning," Lu Chen greeted his girlfriend with a smile. Unlike many female artists who had to carefully make up before they could meet people, the singer in Lu Chen's arms was a real natural beauty. She was still bright and charming even without any makeup. Unlike many female artists who have to carefully make up before they can see people, the heavenly queen of the singing world, who is curled up in Lu Chen's arms, is a real natural beauty. She is still bright and moving without any makeup. Lu Chen's self-control was getting worse and worse. Taking advantage of the fact that she was not fully awake, he directly pressed her under his body and took liberties with her. Chen Fei passionately catered to him, making the atmosphere in the bedroom more and more charming. But at the most critical time, Lu Chen suddenly stopped moving. Chen Fei giggled and kissed him on the cheek in a comforting way. She said, "In the future, there will be a chance." Last night, when she saw Lu Chen's The Furthest Distance in the World on his blog, she was instantly moved by this poem. Unable to suppress the fire of passion in her heart, she ran to Lu Chen's rented apartment. Everything should have happened naturally, but Chen Fei happened to come to visit her relatives. As a result, Lu Chen was in a dilemma. Later, it was Chen Fei who used a little trick to help him solve it. Lu Chen kissed her hard and sat up with great willpower. "Do you want me to send you back?" Last night, it was Ah Xian who sent Chen Fei over. After sending him to the destination, Chen Fei asked his bodyguards to go back first. For the first time, he stayed in Lu Chen's single apartment. Chen Fei shook his head and said, "I told Xian that she will pick me up here afternoon." That meant they had to stay here for another half a day. Lu Chen was overjoyed. "Then I'll go by breakfast." For a celebrity like Chen Fei, it was not easy for him to spend half a day with him, especially since it was still the first month of the lunar calendar. It was supposed to be the busiest time of the year, with all kinds of endorsements flying around. Chen Fei hugged him and asked, "Do you have any ingredients here?" "Just make enough for breakfast." Lu Chen nodded and said, "There are some in the kitchen and the refrigerator." He rented this single apartment. His sister, Lu Shi, would come over to help him clean up the house and fill the refrigerator with some ingredients so that he could make some food for himself. "That's all right. I'll make breakfast," Chen Fei smiled and said, "Go out and exercise. Don't delay it because of me. You can come back in time for breakfast." She knew that Lu Chen insisted on practicing martial arts every day, so his body was so good. This good habit must be maintained. Lu Chen had nothing to say. His heart was full of sweetness. He kissed Chen Fei goodbye and ran out to do morning exercises. By the time he came back from a run outside, Chen Fei had already prepared breakfast. A pot of fragrant white rice porridge, with plump golden fried dumplings, accompanied by refreshing pickled vegetables and spicy fermented bean curd, was placed on the table, which made Lu Chen's appetite whet. "I'm back!" he shouted and impatiently picked up a fried dumpling with his hand, stuffed it into his mouth, and chewed it. He didn't expect that frozen dumplings could be so delicious. What was even more unexpected was that Chen Feier could cook, and her cooking skills seemed to be quite good. Virtuous. Lu Chen was beaming with joy as he ate. Chen Feier poked her head out of the kitchen and saw Lu Chen secretly eating the fried dumplings. She immediately said angrily, "Why are you holding it with your hands? It's so dirty. Go wash your hands and eat after washing." Lu Chen swallowed the dumpling in his mouth and squeezed into the small kitchen. He hugged Chen Feier's slender waist. The heavenly queen found an apron from somewhere and put it on. She tied up her long hair and held a kitchen spatula in her hand. She looked like a housewife, which made Lu Chen's heart burn. This was the real way to live. He lowered his head and rested his chin on Chen Feier's shoulder. He greedily inhaled the fragrance of the latter's body. His heart was happy and peaceful. He only wished that time would freeze at this moment forever. Unfortunately, Chen Feier did not cooperate. She stepped on his foot with her heel and said, "Stop it. The fried eggs are burnt." Lu Chen smiled and reluctantly let go of the beauty and washed his hands in the sink. When he sat back at the dining table, Chen Feier brought out the fried eggs. This breakfast was very heartwarming. However, Chen Feier had some objections. "This house is too small. The kitchen can't even turn around. You should change to a bigger house. Buy one in Beijing." Lu Chen smiled and said, "Do you have any good recommendations?" He was currently renting a single apartment. The kitchen and bathroom were complete, but the area was very compact. The advantage was that it was very close to the studio and it was very convenient to go to work. However, the current Lu Chen was not the same as before. He was getting more and more famous. It was really not suitable to continue living here. Even Lu Shi had mentioned this matter to him. Therefore, even if Chen Feier did not mention it, buying a house was also in Lu Chen's plan. More than half a year ago, Lu Chen, who was still working at Forget Worries Bar, did not even dare to dream of such a thing. The housing prices in Beijing had been rising particularly fiercely in recent years. The houses outside the Fifth Ring Road were priced at 20,000 to 30,000 per square meter. The houses in the high-end residential areas in the city center were often more than 100,000. It was simply not something that ordinary people could afford. Even now, if it was not for the popularity of Autumn in My Heart, which could make a lot of profits from this IP, Lu Chen, who had just paid off his family's debt and redeemed his villa, would not be able to take out the money to buy a property in Beijing. It was really too expensive. Of course, what he wanted to buy must be a good house. "You're right to ask me." Chen Feier proudly raised her chin and said, "I have a property in Zicheng Yuan, 300 square meters, 5 bedrooms, 2 living rooms, and 3 bathrooms. This lady can sell it to you at a lower price." Zicheng Yuan. Lu Chen was stunned and asked, "Your house? Where is it located?" Zicheng Yuan was located in a high-end residential area near the Second Ring Road in Beijing. It was opened for sale in 2007 and was handed over in 2009. Its developer was the famous Capital Bandung. Chen Feier's house was booked in 2007. The 17 to 18 floors were very good. However, after buying it, she had never lived in it or rented it out to others. It was just left there waiting for its value to increase. When she left her agency and set up her own studio, most of the money she earned was used to invest in apartments and shops. This house in Zicheng Yuan was one of the properties under her name. In the circle, Chen Feier was famous for her love of buying properties. There were even developers who took the initiative to promote their properties to her, using her fame to promote their properties. This kind of single investment method also made her assets multiply several times in a few years. She could be called a real rich woman. In 2007, I bought this house with fine decoration for only 6 million yuan, Chen Feier said proudly. Now it can be sold for at least 30 million yuan. Lu Chen only had one big word, "You're amazing, but I can't afford it." Chen Feier laughed and said, "If you can't afford it, just owe it first. Anyway, you're going to buy a house. It's better for me to take advantage of it than others. I allow you to pay it back slowly. One day, you'll be able to pay it back." Lu Chen laughed and said, "Can I pay it back with my body?" "Yes." Chen Feier was not afraid of his teasing. She decided on the spot and said, "Let's sign a contract first. In the future, you'll work for me alone. I'll take care of your food and accommodation. I'll also give you 100 yuan a day as pocket money. How about it?" Lu Chen sighed and said, "The conditions are really good. I'm tempted just thinking about it. But isn't 100 yuan too much?" Chen Feier couldn't help but laugh and rolled her eyes at him coquettishly. The two sweetly and affectionately finished breakfast. It was already past 9 in the morning. Lu Chen called his sister and then turned off his phone. He didn't care about his career and work. He and Chen Feier enjoyed the rare time together in the apartment. They sat on the sofa and said endless words of love. At noon, Lu Chen turned on the computer and logged into the official website of New Vision. Last night, the last episode of Autumn in My Heart was broadcast on Hygiene Satellite TV. He and Chen Feier wanted to see how the episode's ratings were. The ratings on the homepage of New Vision's official website were updated at 12:00 sharp. Autumn in My Heart, 3.4%. It broke 3%. Although they had predicted it long ago and had some expectations in their hearts, when the ratings for the finale of Autumn in My Heart came out, both of them felt extremely happy. If they remembered correctly, the ratings for domestic TV dramas had never exceeded 3% in recent years. Autumn in My Heart had undoubtedly created a miracle. Medium to small-scale investment plus new cast plus second or third-rate production company plus non-mainstream theme, is super phenomenal ratings. If this wasn't a miracle, what else was? Chen Feier couldn't help but kiss Lu Chen's face. That's great. This ratings record not only represented honor and fame, but also real benefits. Lu Chen's studio, Chen Feier's studio, and Chienda Brothers Pictures had signed a VAM agreement with Hygiene Satellite TV. As long as the average domestic ratings for Autumn in My Heart exceeded 0.25% for every 0.10% increase, the buyout price for one episode would be increased by 100,000 yuan. Now that the average ratings for 20 episodes were over 2%, Hygiene Satellite TV would have to pay 30 to 40 million yuan more. With this result as a foundation, it would be easy for Lu Chen's next TV series to double its income. Those who wanted to invest in it would definitely break through the threshold. Chen Feier beamed. Go to the blog and take a look. Lu Chen logged into Waves's blog and saw that Hygiene Satellite TV had posted a blog post celebrating the successful ending of Autumn in My Heart and the ratings breaking 3%. They also tagged himself and Chen Feier at the same time. Chapter 298. The ratings of the finale of Autumn in My Heart broke 3%. The most excited and the most disappointed were Hygiene Satellite TV. The reason for their excitement was naturally needless to say. With the help of this low-budget 20-episode urban romance drama, Hygiene Satellite TV, which was originally just playing a supporting role, finally shook its peers and shined for 2 months. Even if they had to pay the bonus of the VAM agreement, they still made a lot of money. The disappointment was naturally that after the broadcast of Autumn in My Heart, Hygiene Satellite TV would return to its original trajectory. A variety show without strength and a lack of competitive episodes, the original Hygiene satellite TV was not as good as the second and third channels of Beijing television station, which made them lose face. Now that they had finally managed to hold on to this cash cow, how could Hygiene satellite TV let it go so easily? Autumn in My Heart was over, but the creator and the lead actor were still there. If they didn't seize it, when would they? Therefore, in this celebratory blog post, Hygiene satellite TV vigorously praised and even flattered Lu Qin, and incidentally included Qin Fei. Qin Fei couldn't stop laughing. At the same time, Beijing Television and Zhejiang Satellite TV jumped out, unwilling to be left out. The official V of the two TV stations announced at the same time that they would replay Autumn in My Heart this week. The replay rights of Autumn in My Heart had long been sold, shared by Beijing Television and Zhejiang Satellite TV. Seeing Hygiene Satellite TV eating a big piece of meat, they couldn't bear it anymore. A phenomenal TV series, the ratings of the replay would certainly not be low. Moreover, Autumn in My Heart did not have much publicity in the early stage, and the ratings of the first few episodes were not high, so there must be a large number of viewers and fans who want to watch it again. Beijing Television and Zhejiang Satellite TV naturally wanted to strike while the iron was hot. Lu Qin had little interest in the hype of these satellite TV stations. He went back to his blog and looked at the comment area of the blog post, The Furthest Distance in the World. After a period of fermentation, the furthest distance in the world has been on the hot search list on the homepage of Wave's blog and became a hot topic of discussion today. There were more than 1 million related comments, and the number of transfers was hundreds of thousands. It was really hot. In many comments, most netizens appreciated and praised the song written by Lu Qin, which could be seen from the number of likes. However, there was no lack of criticism or even questioning voices, and many of them were from V.S. These people, Qin Fei, who was standing beside Lu Qin, was very angry when he saw these comments. You only know how to make sarcastic remarks. If you have the ability, write a good poem for everyone to judge. She had been in the industry for more than 10 years and had long been accustomed to the ups and downs of public opinion. Whether it was praise or criticism, she could take it calmly. However, when it came to Lu Qin, she couldn't bear it. She just can't bear to see others doing well. Lu Qin couldn't help but laugh. He truly felt Qin Fei's concern for him. After some thought, he clicked on the blog post edit page and prepared to post a new blog post. Qin Fei thought that he was going to fight back against the critics, so he said, "Ignore these people. The more you fight back, the happier they will be. They are just using you to create hype." This kind of trick was an old trick in the entertainment industry, and it was even more common in the blogosphere. If Lu Qin followed suit, he would be at a disadvantage. Lu Qin shook his head and said, "It has nothing to do with them. I am going to make a statement and announce one thing." He had thought about it for a long time, and now it was time to announce it. Through the Waves blog, Lu Qin announced his important decision to everyone. He would donate 10 million from the proceeds of Autumn in My Heart to register a charity fund, which would be used to help patients with leukemia who had no financial means to treat it. This idea came into being when he was writing Autumn in My Heart, but the conditions were not ripe at that time. Now was the right time, and he also had the ability to complete this idea. As soon as this blog post was posted, it immediately received a lot of enthusiastic responses. Strongly support. Good people will be rewarded. Support Lu Qin, big. The entertainment industry needs positive energy. Please allow me to say, well done. Do you accept donations? I am willing to donate a month's salary. It's really touching. If all stars can be like Lu Qin, then the world will become a better place. I can donate all my New Year's money. Touched. At this time, all the voices of doubt and criticism disappeared without a trace. It was not news for stars to do charity, but it was really rare for Lu Qin to take out 10 million to set up a special fund. No one doubted the kindness and sincerity of Lu Qin, because he made a public statement on the Waves blog. Thousands of people could be witnesses. If he broke his promise, it would be equivalent to destroying his own future. Seeing Lu Qin's statement, Chen Fei was stunned at first, then she grabbed the laptop from Lu Qin's hand, logged out of the latter's account, and logged into her own. Just a few minutes after Lu Qin's statement was released, Chen Fei followed suit with a similar blog post. She announced that she would also donate 10 million and inject it into this special charity fund. A charity project that had not yet been registered, and did not even have an official name, had its total capital doubled to 20 million in the blink of an eye. It immediately caused a sensation on the Waves blog. In fact, 20 million was really nothing in charity. The scale of such a fund was really very small, and it could not be compared with those foundations that easily had hundreds of millions or billions. However, the identities of the founders and donors were very unusual, and their influence was magnified exponentially. They really are the best couple in the entertainment industry. Support Chen Fei, support our Eun Hui. Yeah, Juanxi and Eun Hui. Is this considered a husband and wife following each other? I like it. Don't say anything else. Just because of this, I announce that I will be a fan from now on. Oh, they really are a couple. Do you think the scandal between Lu Qin and Chen Fei is true? Whether it's true or not, those who do good deeds are good people. Lu Qin and Chen Fei had more than 30 million fans on the Waves blog. Although there were definitely a large number of overlaps, it was still a very terrifying number. The blog post of the two was reposted everywhere, and it received countless support and praise. As a result, in just half an hour, many celebrities and artists in the industry followed suit and said that they would also donate money to join this charity project. The amount of donations ranged from tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands. Among them were Lu Qin and Chen Fei's mutual friends Tan Hong, Liao Jia, Sister Li, Tian Tian. Originally, it was just Lu Qin's personal idea and decision, but now it seemed to have the momentum of the entertainment industry participating together. This was something that Lu Qin himself did not expect. This time, it was too big. Chapter 299. The entertainment industry was a large circle that accommodated countless people of all kinds. However, the people in this circle were often inextricably linked to each other. Completely independent individuals did not exist at all. Some people praised, some people criticized, some people praised, and some people scolded. It was bizarre and complicated. The only belief was profit. Lu Qin launched a leukemia charity fund on Waves blog. Chen Fei's support for him went without saying. Tan Hong, Liao Jia, Sister Li, and others were friends. It was normal for friends in the circle to support each other. However, those who knew or didn't know each other took the initiative to join, and most of them had ulterior motives. But no matter what their motives were, as the saying goes, everyone adds firewood. The momentum on the internet suddenly soared. Lu Qin really didn't expect to place so big. He quickly posted a new blog post on his blog, expressing his gratitude to all the supporters, saying that he would complete the registration of the foundation as soon as possible. According to domestic laws and regulations, individuals and private individuals could not carry out charity fundraising activities, and the approval and registration of a charity foundation was very strict. It required very high qualifications to be approved. However, since Lu Qin had made a decision, his will would not waver. In addition to his own efforts, the status, fame, and money he had today mainly came from the memories in the dream world. Lu Qin had never thought of squandering this rich wealth of memories to spend his life. He was grateful for the gift and was willing to benefit many people in need of help. Establishing a charity foundation was Lu Qin's first step. How far a person could go depended on how broad his mind was. Chen Fei asked, who are you going to let manage this foundation? The manager is very important. There were many charity foundations in China, and there had always been the problem of good and bad. Some foundations had a bad reputation because of the chaotic management and became a tool to accumulate money. For a star artist like Lu Qin, he certainly did not have the time and energy to manage a charity foundation, but the reputation and credibility of the foundation were closely related to his reputation. If there were management problems or other scandals, it would have a great impact on Lu Qin. Therefore, the manager of the foundation was very important. Lu Qin scratched his head. Sister. The people he trusted the most were, of course, his family members. He could rest assured if Lu Shi was in charge. Chen Fei smiled and said, Sister Lu Shi doesn't have 3 heads and 6 arms. Do you think she can handle so many things? Lu Qin seemed to have seen himself being sprayed with dog blood by his sister. As he became more and more famous, Lu Shi, as the manager and agent of Lu Qin's studio, became busier and busier. In the past, he said that he would let her realize her dream of getting a master's degree in the capital, but now she didn't even have time to review her lessons. Study for further studies. Hee. If the heavy burden of the charity foundation was placed on them, Lu Qin wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. Do you have any good suggestions or candidates to recommend? Chen Fei said, if you want me to recommend someone, I will recommend Sister Li. There is no other suitable candidate. Sister Li. Lu Chen's eyes suddenly lit up. Will she be willing? Sister Li was well known in the circle, and she was willing to do charity. She had just said on her blog that she would donate 500,000 yuan to Lu Chen's charity project. The most important thing was that she was smart and capable, and she had a wide range of contacts both inside and outside the circle. This was very important. In contrast, Lu Shi was really far behind. If Sister Li came to the foundation, then Lu Qin really had nothing to worry about. The problem was that Sister Li had her own career. Her agency had always been doing well, and she was usually very busy. Chen Fei smiled and said, let me ask first. It shouldn't be a big problem. Lu Qin couldn't help but hold her in his arms and praised, if it weren't for you, what would I do? The mushy words of love, which could give others goosebumps, made Chen Fei's pretty face faintly bashful. She coquettishly rolled her eyes at Lu Qin and said, glib tongue. I have to go back. Xian sent me a message. Lu Qin looked at the time and said, oh, let's go for lunch together. It was already 1 o'clock. Chen Fei said, it's too late. I have a job in the afternoon. You go eat by yourself. She kissed Lu Qin comfortingly and said, Xian is downstairs. You don't need to send me. Wonderful time always passed too fast. Lu Qin had no choice but to send Chen Fei out of the door with a mask and sunglasses. He thought that he should buy a new house. It was really inconvenient to continue to live here. After Chen Fei left, Lu Qin didn't stay in the apartment for long. He casually ate something and rushed to the studio. However, as soon as he arrived at the studio, he was called to the room by his sister and scolded. The phones of Lu Shi and the studio were blown up. There were some important things that needed Lu Chen's approval. However, his phone was turned off. If Lu Qin hadn't contacted him in the morning, he would have thought that he had disappeared. And you didn't discuss such a big thing as setting up a charity foundation with me first, Lu Shi said angrily. I don't have the energy or ability to help you. Lu Qin explained, I have discussed this matter with Fei and she recommended Sister Li to me. Lu Shi was stunned and suddenly said, you were with Fei this morning, weren't you? No wonder you turned off your phone. She said sourly, now you really have a wife and forget your sister. Lu Qin smiled bitterly. Life was already so difficult. Why did he have to expose some things? She didn't want to talk to him anymore. The latest work and business are on my computer. You deal with it yourself. I'm going to the hospital now. Lu Chen was stunned. What are you going to the hospital for? She said, I'm going to visit Manager Wang. You brought his studio here. You have to visit him, right? You don't have to go. I'll go as a representative to express my condolences. Lu Chen couldn't help blushing. All the members of Nirvana Studios were now recruited by him. He had known that Wang Changxing was hospitalized for a long time, but he had been too busy these 2 days and didn't think of visiting the hospital. His sister was so careful. Although it was a small matter, she could take care of the feelings of Wang Jing and Wang Hui. Seeing that She was about to leave, Lu Chen hurriedly said, Sister. She stopped at the door of the room and turned her head. What's wrong? Lu Chen said sincerely, Thank you. She snorted, but her eyes became much softer. After his sister left, Lu Chen sat in her seat and opened the work documents on the computer. First was the publication of the novel version of Autumn in My Heart. Because the ratings of this TV series had set a record in recent years, coupled with the serialized updates on Lu Chen's blog some time ago, the novel version was very popular. There were more than a dozen publishing houses contacted by phone or directly sent people to seek cooperation, among which the most powerful were Shanghai Publishing House, Group News Publishing House, and Beijing Publishing House. So far, the private Shanghai Publishing House offered the most attractive conditions, 15% royalties and a minimum guarantee of 500,000. The royalties of domestic writers were usually between 8% and 12%, and newcomers were even as low as 5%. A novel priced at 20 yuan with 150,000 words could only earn 1 yuan, and the first printing would only be 10,000 to 20,000 copies. In the field of literary publishing, Lu Chen was definitely a newcomer. He had never published any works before. But the influence of Autumn in My Heart made it impossible for any publishing house to treat him as a newcomer. But even so, the price offered by Shanghai Publishing House was far beyond the normal range. 15% royalties was the treatment of a top famous writer, and the guaranteed print run of 500,000 was even more expensive. As long as Lu Chen signed the contract, the 1.5 million remuneration would immediately be transferred to the studio's account. If more copies were sold later, the royalty share would be further increased. And such conditions were something that the state-owned Group News Publishing House and Beijing Publishing House could not offer. Therefore, Lu's suggestion was to sign with Shanghai Publishing House. Lu Chen had no objection to this. He would sell to whoever paid more. There was nothing to hesitate about. In addition, the copyright of the comic book Autumn in My Heart also had some progress. The final offer given by the Color Impression Comics publishing house was 1.2 million. Lu Chen also gave his approval. Then there was a clothing company that hoped to obtain the brand license for Autumn in My Heart, and 2 film and television companies wanted to cooperate with the studio to adapt the movie. Lu Chen glanced down. There were more than 10 pieces of content related to the IP copyright of Autumn in My Heart. If all of them were licensed out, it could at least bring an additional profit of nearly 10 million to the studio. This made Lu Chen sigh at the power of IP. The value of a popular IP was really immeasurable. And the entire copyright of Autumn in My Heart had always been firmly in the hands of Lu Chen. Qin Fei, and Qinda Pictures only got a share of the profits from the TV series. Lu Chen had a feeling that his hands were cramping from counting money. But then he thought about how Qin Fei's house cost 30 million, and he felt that he was not much different from the poor. It was not even enough to buy a house. Ta. As he was thinking about the money problem, someone knocked on the door. Lu Chen coughed and said, "Please come in." It was Wang Hui who came to find Lu Chen. He asked a little awkwardly, "Brother Lu Chen, I want to ask, when are we going to build the recording studio?" Lu Chen was surprised. Didn't I ask you to work out the budget first? You can choose the 5 million. Wang Hui asked with a bitter face, but where are we going to build the recording studio? This place is too small. Lu Chen thought about it and realized that it was really a problem. Originally, when he rented the studio, he had never considered building a recording studio. Now that Nirvana Studios had merged, the scale was going to expand big, and the current place was really too small. If he wanted to make the studio bigger and stronger, it was imperative to move. The area of the new place had to be at least 3 or 4 times larger, which would require a high investment. Lu Chen was already seriously considering selling himself to Qin Fei. Chapter 300. Rome wasn't built in a day, and the recording studio wasn't built in a day either. There was no need to mention moving the studio. Although Beijing was very big, it wasn't easy to find a suitable place. Of course, Lu Chen still patted his chest and assured Wang Hui, telling him to choose the equipment first. Actually, for Lu Chen, the most important thing at the moment was neither selling the copyright of Autumn in My Heart, nor moving the studio, nor setting up a charity foundation. It was the Asian Chinese Music Chart Awards ceremony that would be held on February 18th. The Asian Chinese Music Chart was created by CCTV and CCTV in conjunction with the major TV and radio stations in the country. It had been held for 15 years so far, and it was one of the most influential and authoritative pop music awards in the country. Most importantly, it could be confirmed that this year's Asian Chinese Music Chart would be the last one. It would merge with the China Original Music Chart and be upgraded to the Global Chinese Music Chart. At that time, the brand new, Global Chinese Original Songs Chart will become the premier pop music festival in China, easily crushing Xiangnan Satellite TV's Chinese Music Chart, and becoming the wind benchmark of the pop music world. As for the last Asian Chinese Music Chart, it had also received a lot of attention from both inside and outside the industry. A large number of well-known singers, artists, musicians, and people in related industries had been invited. The list of guests printed out was estimated to be a few meters long. Lu Chen was also among the invited guests, and he had also received 4 important nominations for Best Newcomer, Best Composition, Best Lyrics, and Best Album. Best Newcomer, nominated, Best Composition, I Love You China, nominated, Best Lyrics, I Love You China, nominated, Best Album, You Who Sat Next to Me, nominated. The panel of judges for the Asian Chinese Music Chart was made up of professionals. There were members of the Music Association, well-known seniors in the circle, professors of music academies, famous music critics, and so on. The total number of members was more than 100. There was no audience voting that could be easily cheated, and the organizer was an authoritative organization. Therefore, the Asian Chinese Top Songs Chart was very valuable, and the list of nominees for the 21 awards was also very eye-catching. Lu Chen was able to win these 4 important nominations, and his position in the circle immediately improved. The adverse impact of his lack of revenue in the selection of Xiangnan Satellite TV's Chinese Music Chart was instantly eliminated, and in turn, he slapped the latter in the face. However, Chen Fei had analyzed for Lu Chen that he was most likely to win the Best New Artist Award and the least likely to win the Best Album Award. As for the Best Composition and Lyrics Award, the phenomenon of seniority in the Asian Chinese Top Songs Chart had always existed. Lu Chen was still too young. In this regard, Lu Chen was not angry. His middle school years had long passed. He knew that there was no real fairness in the world. The members of the panel of judges of the Asian Chinese Music Chart were not robots. As long as it was a person of flesh and blood, they would always have their own selfish thoughts and perceptions. Lu Chen was satisfied to win the Best New Artist Award. After dealing with the backlog of work, he called Li Mubai and asked where the other party was. Li Mubai was actually upstairs in Mukin's company. This surprised Lu Chen, because according to custom, most private companies officially started work on the 8th day of the first lunar month. Li Mubai actually appeared in the company on the first day of work. He was simply diligent. Without asking much, Lu Qin ran straight upstairs to find third young Master Li. After selling most of Mukin crowdfunding shares to Li Mushi, he rarely appeared in Mukin's company and basically did not participate in the company's business affairs. He was an invisible founding shareholder. He hadn't seen Li Mubai for some time. "Oh, no wonder I heard the magpies singing on the branches in the morning." As soon as he saw Lu Qin, Li Mubai said in a mocking tone, "Sure enough, there's a happy event. A big star has graced my small place with his presence." He hadn't seen him for a while, and the young master hadn't changed much. Lu Qin sat down opposite him and said with a smile, "Don't talk nonsense. I have something important to talk to you about." Li Mubai smiled, sat up straight and asked, "What's the matter?" Lu Qin said straightforwardly, "I want to register a charity foundation and ask you for help." In the early years, there were quite a lot of domestic charity foundations or similar organizations, and many things happened, which caused considerable negative impact. Therefore, the relevant government department strengthened management, especially in the approval link, and the application process was also very long. Therefore, after Lu Qin made up his mind, the first person he thought of to ask for help was Li Mubai. As the saying goes, having someone in the court makes things easier. If the Li family came forward, things would become much simpler. Lu Qin didn't have mental and moral misophobia, and what he wanted to do was to do good deeds. If the charity foundation could be established one day earlier, he might be able to save more patients in urgent need. He understood Li Mubai's character, and he knew that polite words would hurt the other party's feelings. According to the words of the Li family's third young master, being polite was not a real brother. As expected, Li Mubai fell for it. He agreed without hesitation, "Your business is my business. I'll ask my brother what procedures are needed first, and then I'll tell you. If there's any trouble, I'll help you solve it." Lu Qin smiled and said, "Thank you. I'll treat you to a drink in 2 days. Drinking is fine, but I also have something." Li Mubai showed a rare look of embarrassment. "I need your help." Lu Qin was curious, "What's the matter?" "Writing songs. That's easy." Li Mubai was also a fan of pop music, and he had a band, which was quite stylish. Lu Qin had sent 2 works to Li Mubai before. It had been a long time. He thought that Li Mubai wanted a few new songs to entertain himself, or to release an album. Unexpectedly, Li Mubai shook his head and explained, "It's Fanny. She likes the TV series you filmed. If you film a new TV series, can you arrange a role for her?" "Fanny?" Lu Qin remembered. Isn't it the girl that Li Mubai has been pursuing? He remembered that he had seen Fanny once. She was very beautiful and had a good temperament. He heard that she was a returnee. Li Mubai undoubtedly wanted to use this to please her. Lu Qin couldn't help but laugh, "No problem. Isn't it just a role? That's not a big deal at all." But Li Mubai had another request. "The role can't have sex scenes, kissing scenes. It's best not to hold hands." Lu Qin was convinced. Chapter 301. Looking back at domestic pop music in 2015, there were very few things worth writing home about. The mainstream of the market was still occupied by fast songs and catchy songs. Although those famous singers had released a lot of new albums, few of them could lead the trend or cause a sensation. The new generation of artists made their debut through endless talent shows and still walked the old road that had been stepped on by countless people. This once made the author feel worried. Where would domestic pop music go? Would it continue to fall into the abyss in plagiarism, imitation, and following the trend, or would it stagger forward in difficulty, exploration, and struggle? But the emergence of a young singer blew a fresh wind to the pop music world that had been depressed for too long. The main theme was nostalgic folk songs and light rock songs that had experienced the vicissitudes of life but did not lose their passion. His original works made people's eyes light up, as if there was endless melody inspiration, like the dawn, bringing hope and light. Many people should have guessed the name of this young singer. On the eve of the 2016 Asian Chinese Songs Chart Awards ceremony, the author sincerely hoped that more support and honor could be given to those young people with real talent, so that there would be hope for the future of pop music. The above content came from Donghu Loose Cultivator, a well-known blogger in the Waves blog. His main job was an editor of a fashion magazine, and his part-time job was as a writer, film critic, and music critic. He had a high level of professionalism. His blog fans exceeded 2 million, and his articles were very popular with blog netizens. Donghu Loose Cultivator had a unique view of domestic pop music. On the eve of the Asian Chinese Songs Chart Awards ceremony every year, he would post a retrospective blog post to talk about his thoughts. In addition, it must be pointed out that Donghu Loose Cultivator was also a member of the judging panel of the Asian Chinese Songs Chart Awards ceremony. His blog post caused a lot of repercussions in the circle. The young singer that Donghu Loose Cultivator specially pointed out in the blog post was undoubtedly Lu Qin. In the pop music world of 2015, there was no newcomer more dazzling than Lu Qin. His edge surpassed many well-known predecessors. He also brought the campus folk style, and all the works of his debut album were on the original music chart. And Donghu Loose Cultivator's public praise for Lu Qin made people wonder. Everyone knew that Lu Qin had won 4 important nominations for the Asian Chinese Songs Chart. Would he create another miracle? For example, winning multiple awards. Of course, Lu Qin's fans were very excited about it. They said that Lu Qin deserved the award and that there was no doubt that he would win it. However, the fans of his competitor had a different view. Therefore, the two sides fought fiercely on blogs, Tieba, forums, and other places. On the internet, the atmosphere of the Asian Chinese Music Chart Awards ceremony was hyped up in advance, attracting more people's attention. On the evening of February 18th, at the National Grand Theatre. This magnificent landmark was located on the south side of Chang'an Avenue, covering an area of 18 hectares, with a total construction area of more than 200,000 square meters, and a total investment of 3.5 billion yuan. The main building consisted of an external steel shell, a main hall with 5,000 seats, a concert hall with 2,200 seats, a drama hall with 1,000 seats, a public hall and supporting rooms. The most special thing was that the roof of the National Grand Theatre was semi-oval and covered with soft colors and luster of titanium metal. There were 2 similar triangular glass curtain walls on the front and back sides. The entire building floated on the artificial water surface. The audience needed to enter the performance hall through a 100-meter-long underwater passage. The shape of the entire theatre was novel, avant-garde, and unique. It was a combination of tradition and modernity, romance and reality. Therefore, it was called the theater in the city in the theater. The 2016 Asian Chinese Music Chart Awards ceremony was held in the main hall of the National Grand Theatre. The sky had just darkened, and the leisure square outside the National Grand Theatre was noisy. A long red carpet extended from the center of the square to the entrance of the underwater passage, which was blocked by a huge signature wall. Both sides of the red carpet were separated by security fences. All kinds of media reporters with long cameras and short cannons squatted inside, and outside were heavily armed security personnel. Tens of thousands of onlookers could only try their best to raise their height. Otherwise, except for those in the front row, those in the back could only see heads. On the east side of the leisure square, adjacent to the parking lot, there was a separate area for idlers. All kinds of celebrities and other invited guests arrived, waiting for the start of the red carpet ceremony. Compared with the Chinese Music Chart Awards ceremony held by Shonan TV in Shaoqing not long ago, the Asian Chinese Music Chart jointly organized by CCTV and CCTV, was far better in terms of scale and style. Renting the National Grand Theatre alone was enough to overshadow all similar parties in China. Moreover, CCTV's 3 variety channel and 15 music channel would broadcast the grand ceremony live. Lu Qin was also among the celebrity guests who were about to walk the red carpet. He saw a lot of acquaintances here. Most of the faces were not unfamiliar, and there were also several people he really knew, such as Tan Hong, Liao Jia, Qin Hanyang, and even the 3 beautiful girls of MSN. MSN was nominated for the Best New Group on the Golden Music Chart. In fact, they debuted too late. The nomination was mainly the result of the strong public relations of Flying Stone Records. Of course, MSN's debut album sold well and was barely qualified. They were all people in the circle. No matter if they knew each other or not, no matter which family they came from, everyone politely greeted each other, socialized, and passed the boring time of waiting by the way. Looking around, it was really a group of bright stars. Any one of them had millions of fans on the Waves blog. Lu Chen, who was mixed in the crowd, undoubtedly became one of the focuses. First of all, his height was big beyond average, coupled with a hand-cut suit and high face value. He was so handsome that many female stars frequently paid attention to him, making it impossible for people to ignore his existence. Secondly, Autumn in My Heart brought great popularity to Lu Qin. Few people present didn't know him. And Lu Qin, who debuted in mid-2015, had a talent in music that was obvious to all. It was difficult for a newcomer like him, who had a combination of good looks, strength, and popularity, not to be noticed. Of course, the star artists present respected their identity. Even if they wanted to chat with Lu Qin, they would not approach him eagerly. Even so, Lu Qin was introduced to a lot of people by Tan Hong and Liao Jia. His 2 elder brothers regarded Lu Qin as a little brother and took good care of him. After this circle, Lu Qin's network expanded a little, and he could talk and laugh wittily in front of those people who were previously unreachable. Until the appearance of Qin Fei. Sister-in-law is here. Liao Jia, who had a big mouth, directly teased, "Come on, Lu Qin is yours." In fact, a lot of people in the circle knew about the relationship between Lu Qin and Qin Fei. The news in the entertainment circle spread extremely fast, and many things could not be hidden at all. But the 2 did not officially disclose their relationship. Unless there was an ulterior motive, no one would talk about it to the outside world. This was the tacit rule in the circle, and everyone followed it for themselves. Only a carefree and stubborn person like Liao Jia would dare to make fun of the 2 of them in public. He could not take it seriously. Qin Fei glared at Liao Jia angrily and ignored him. Then, he chatted with Tan Hong. The relationship between Tan Hong and Qin Fei was well known in the circle. The former was the latter's teacher and trustworthy brother. Without Tan Hong's care, Qin Fei's career would not have developed so smoothly. However, unlike Qin Fei, who was in the process of transformation, Tan Hong, who was far from retirement age, had gradually faded out of the entertainment circle and the singing circle. He put more energy and time on his family and other careers. He could only be seen on important occasions such as the Asian Chinese Music Chart or the Chinese Music Chart award ceremony. Tan Hong chatted with Qin Fei for a while and then pulled Lu Qin over. Time passed quickly. In the blink of an eye, it was 7 o'clock. The red carpet ceremony officially began. The celebrity guests stepped on the red carpet in pairs according to the predetermined order under the arrangement of the MC, which represented their identity and honor, enjoying the attention of tens of millions of people and the baptism of flashing lights. The organizing committee of the Asian Chinese Music Chart arranged for Lu Qin and Qin Fei to walk on the red carpet together. Qin Fei wore a gorgeous white dress that night. After being carefully dressed up, she looked very beautiful. She gracefully took Lu Chen's arm, and the two walked side by side with tacit understanding. When a large number of flashing lights lit up, heart-wrenching shouts came from the crowd, Jun-hee! Jun-hee! Lu Chen and Chen Fei looked at each other and smiled. They stopped at the same time, turned left and right, and posed so that the media reporters and the fans at the scene could take pictures. The entertainment reporters at the side of the red carpet pressed the shutter as hard as they could to capture the photo of the two people in the camera. The reporters present were all experienced and knowledgeable. There were countless handsome men and beautiful women in the entertainment circle. They had seen too many of them. However, Lu Chen and Chen Fei, who appeared in front of the public tonight, were too tacky to say that they were a golden couple. They deserved to be the best couple of the year. One was tall and handsome, and the other was beautiful and charming. They were the male and female leads of popular dramas who had been involved in scandals. Such a combination was simply the perfect material. It would definitely attract a lot of attention and clicks on the entertainment section. Unfortunately, unlike the celebrities who couldn't wait to crawl on the red carpet like snails, Lu Chen and Chen Fei only stopped for a few seconds and continued to move forward, which made the reporters who didn't get a good shot feel regretful. The two walked to the end of the red carpet, and then left their names on the signature wall. Finally, they walked along the underwater passage and entered the National Center for the Performing Arts. In the main hall, which could accommodate 5,000 people, the guests and audience had already taken their seats. A grand ceremony was about to begin. Chapter 302. At 7:25 p.m., the main hall of the National Grand Theatre was brightly lit. With the entrance of the celebrity guests, the auditorium was full. Lu Chen and Chen Fei's seats were in the fifth row, and they were next to each other. On the left side of Lu Chen was Chen Fei, on the right side was Li Mubai, and then Fanny and Lu Shi. Lu Chen received 4 nominations for the Asian Chinese Music Chart, and the organizing committee gave him 4 invitations. In addition to himself, he could bring 3 other people to attend the ceremony. Of the 3 places, Lu Chen gave 1 to Lu Shi, and the other 2 to Li Mubai. With Li Mubai's family background, it was not a problem for him to get a place here, but the invitation given by Lu Chen was different. Li Mubai happily accepted the favor and took the opportunity to invite Fanny. Lu Chen, hello. Fanny took the initiative to greet Lu Chen, looking very gentle and beautiful. Although she was not as good as Chen Fei, she was also an outstanding beauty. No wonder Li Mubai was fascinated by her. Lu Chen nodded and said with a smile, hello. He introduced Li Mubai and Fanny to Chen Fei, respectively. Fanny was actually a fan of Chen Fei. While they were talking, the Asian Chinese Music Chart Awards ceremony officially began. The opening was a gorgeous and wonderful large-scale dance program. The Central Television, which held various large-scale parties every year, had incomparable experience in this regard. The use of various music, dance, sound, and light had reached the acme of perfection. After the opening performance, the 4 hosts appeared on the stage. They were all famous figures. They first reviewed the glorious history of the Asian Chinese Music Chart, and then presented the leader's congratulatory speech. More than 10 minutes passed. Then, the famous host of CCTV, Xia Jun, said in his unique powerful voice, before the official announcement of the 21 awards, let's announce the special Golden Melody Chart Lifetime Achievement Award for this year's Asian Chinese Music Chart. Then, who is the winner of the Lifetime Achievement Award as determined by the panel of judges of the Asian Chinese Music Chart? Xia Jun revealed a smile that the entire nation's audience was extremely familiar with. Let us invite the famous musician Fang Xinghai to reveal the answer to us. The audience immediately burst into enthusiastic applause. The guests were a little surprised because most of them did not know about the existence of this award beforehand. Including this year, the Asian Chinese Top Songs chart had been held for 15 years. The first award was 17, and later increased to 21. However, there had never been a Lifetime Achievement Award. This year was the last year of the Asian Chinese Top Songs chart, which meant that the Lifetime Achievement Award was unique. One could only imagine its weight. No one expected that the award ceremony would have such a big suspense at the beginning. Amidst the tide-like applause, a silver-haired old man walked onto the stage and took the envelope containing the list of winners from Xia Jun. Fang Xinghai was a very famous musician in China. Not only was he engaged in the creation of classical and traditional music, but he also studied modern pop music. In the 1990s, he had also written several popular works. In front of him, all the guests present were considered juniors. Fang Xinghai, who was already over 80 years old, was still very healthy. He was hale and hearty, and his face was ruddy. He tore open the envelope and took out a card from it. Then, he said loudly into the microphone, "The winner of the 16th Asian Chinese Top Songs Chart Lifetime Achievement Award is..." Everyone's heart was instantly lifted, and the hall of the theater was completely silent. Tan Hong. As the Lifetime Achievement Award was a temporary award, there was no nomination list. Therefore, except for a few people, no one knew who the candidates were, let alone the winner. Therefore, when Fang Xinghai said the name of the winner, the guests and the audience did not immediately react, but the loud applause suddenly burst out like thunder, instantly spreading to the entire hall. Lu Chen clapped hard and was the first to stand up, to send the most sincere congratulations to Tan Hong. On the road of Lu Chen's music, Tan Hong had given him a lot of help and support, unconditionally. Lu Chen had never forgotten this deep favor, but unfortunately, he had never had the chance to repay it. Then, it was Chen Feier, and the other star artists. Tan Hong was born in the 1970s, and it had been 25 years since his debut. He had a total of 17 original albums, among which, his album, Soaring Pigeon, sold more than 5 million copies in 1999, writing the final glory of pop music record sales, and the total sales of his albums ranked in the top 3 among all singers. Soaring Pigeon, After the Rain, The Prodigal Son, Memories Often, Love, these classic works were still sung to this day. In addition to his talent in music, Tan Hong's character was also first class. He had almost never had a scandal since his debut, and was recognized as a good husband and father inside and outside the circle. Moreover, Tan Hong also liked to help new singers. There were countless singers who had received his guidance and help, the most famous of which was Chen Feier. The friendship between the two had always been a good story in the circle. Just like when he helped Lu Chen, he helped people without asking for anything in return, so he had friends all over the world in the circle. In terms of qualifications and achievements, there were definitely big stars in the music circle who could stand shoulder to shoulder with Tan Hong, but in terms of character and popularity, he definitely deserved to win this Lifetime Achievement Award. The applause was like a tidal wave, each wave louder than the one before. Tan Hong stood up from his seat, cupped his hands to his left and right to express his gratitude, and then strode onto the stage. He did not immediately take the glittering Golden Lark Award from Fang Xinghai. Instead, he bowed deeply to the musician from a distance of 2 steps. Fang Xinghai was Tan Hong's teacher, so it was not without reason that the Golden Melody Chart Committee chose him to award the award to Tan Hong. Fang Xinghai went forward to help Tan Hong up and stuffed the award into his hands, his face full of a gratified smile. Holding the Golden Lark Award, Tan Hong stood in front of the microphone. There was a faint flash of tears in his eyes, and this old man in his 40s revealed his true feelings. "Thank you, thank my teacher Fang Xinghai, thank CCTV and CCTV, thank you to the Golden Melody Chart Committee, thank you to everyone." He bowed deeply again. The 5,000 audience members all stood up and applauded in unison. At this moment, many people had a vague feeling that this was Tan Hong bidding farewell to everyone. This big star in the music industry had chosen to retire without any reluctance, leaving the stage that had once given him supreme glory. The era that belonged to him had truly come to an end. Chapter 303. After Tan Hong won the only Lifetime Achievement Award in the Asian Chinese Music Chart, the awards ceremony continued. The Media Recommendation Award, Best Music Video, Best Arrangement and other awards were won one by one. Next is the Best Newcomer Award in the Asian Chinese Music Chart. The excited voice of CCTV host Xia Jun echoed in the ears of the 5,000 audience at the scene, "Please look at the big screen." On the giant LED display that served as the background of the stage, a picture that was cut vertically into 4 pieces instantly appeared. The photos of the 4 candidates for the Best Newcomer Award appeared at the same time, with their respective representative works shining below. The first candidate is Zhou Bei, with her representative work, Blooming Flower! Zhou Bei's beautiful voice immediately came out of the top-notch sound system arranged around the hole. Zhou Bei was the winner of the 2015 Deep Sea Satellite TV's Ace variety show, National Idol. After signing a contract with Starlight Media, she released her debut album, Blooming Flower. She is about the same age as Lu Qin. She has an outstanding appearance, good singing ability, and a reputation as a talented woman in music. Therefore, she was strongly supported by Starlight Media. She received a lot of announcements and endorsements, and has more than 5 million fans in Wave's blog. It is worth mentioning that Zhou Bei is the star spokesperson of Starlight Show. Every time she opens a live broadcast, the number of viewers exceeds 1 million, faintly forming a tit-for-tat trend with Lu Qin, who signed a contract with Whale TV. The contest between the two was not just once. The earliest was their debut album, Lu Qin's You Who Sat Next to Me album and her Blooming Flower, which were only a few days apart from each other on QQ Music Online. However, in terms of sales, You Who Sat Next to Me completely beat Blooming Flower. In addition, the last time shown on TV, Chinese Music Chart, Zhou Bei was also nominated for Best Newcomer. It's just that both lost to Cui Jingji. When her name was called, Zhou Bei stood up from her seat with a smile on her face and bowed to the applauding audience to express her gratitude. She was sitting in the row behind Lu Qin, and the distance between the two was no more than 10 meters. Lu Qin clapped his hands and turned his head curiously, only to meet Zhou Bei's eyes. The latter's eyes narrowed and nodded to Lu Qin. Lu Qin smiled and nodded. In fact, this was the first time the two of them had met face to face, and they were competitors. The second candidate is Lin Chuxian. His masterpiece is Night's Passion. Lin Chuxian was a popular new singer in 2015. His family background was extraordinary. His father was a professor at a music academy, and his mother was a dancer. After graduating from junior high school, he was sent abroad to study music. He returned to China in 2014 and debuted at the end of the year, releasing his debut album in March 2015. His masterpiece, Night's Passion, sold quite well. The style of the work had strong European and American pop elements, so it was very popular with many young people. The title song of the album, Dark Night, once topped the original music chart for 2 consecutive weeks. Among the 4 nominees, Lin Chuxian was the biggest threat to Lu Qin. He was talented and capable, and his parents had a lot of connections in the industry. He would definitely be able to influence some of the judges. However, Lin Chuxian also had a weakness. He was arrogant and hot-tempered. He once scolded a blogger who talked about his height on his blog, and it caused a lot of uproar. Lin Chuxian's height was 1.65 meters, and some people said that his real height was no more than 1.60 meters. The third candidate is Lu Qin. His masterpiece is You Who Sat Next to Me. Lu Qin, who was called, stood up and thanked him. The fourth candidate is Xiao Bingbing. Her masterpiece is If I Can Love Again. Xiao Bingbing was also a new singer who debuted last year. She was signed by the media giant Jinhua Entertainment, but she had not released an album yet. She only released a few singles, and If I Can Love Again was her masterpiece that was on the original music chart. Compared to Zhou Bei, Lin Chuxian, and Lu Chen, Xiao Bingbing was much worse in all aspects. Her only strength was probably her looks. She was young and beautiful, had a sexy body, and was good at dancing. It was widely believed in the industry that she was nominated for Best Newcomer on the Asian Chinese music chart because Jinhua Entertainment's public relations ability was too strong. It was basically impossible for her to win the award. CCTV was not Xiangnan Satellite TV. They had a higher moral index and rarely did things that could cause an uproar in public opinion. Therefore, the Golden Lark Award would only fall into the hands of one of Zhou Bei, Lin Chuxian, or Lu Chen. Lin Chuxian and Lu Chen had the highest chances of winning the award. After the nomination list was announced, Xia Jun said loudly, "Next, let us invite the famous singer, Miss Chen Feier, to announce the winner of the Asian Chinese Music Chart's Best Newcomer Award." As soon as he finished speaking, a bright beam of light instantly shone on the seat next to Lu Chen. Chen Feier revealed a charming smile. She lifted her skirt with one hand and left her seat. She walked onto the stage amidst the warm applause of the audience and took the envelope from another CCTV host. The main hall instantly quieted down. Everyone's eyes were focused on Chen Feier. Apart from the Lifetime Achievement Award that was added at the last minute, the Best Newcomer Award was undoubtedly the first really important award, especially the Asian Chinese Top Songs chart. Since the beginning of the new century, the domestic entertainment industry had developed rapidly and the scale of the industry had been expanding. However, the overall quality of the pop music industry, where there were more and more singers and artists, showed a trend of decline. Chinese pop music was greatly influenced by Europe, America, Japan, and South Korea. Many entertainment record companies were eager for quick success and did not pay attention to original works. Covers, imitations, and even plagiarized foreign works became a trend. There were fewer and fewer original songs that people praised. Many insightful people in the industry were worried and cried out, which also attracted the attention of the government. As the official representative, the Asian Chinese music chart led by CCTV and CCTV naturally had to promote the correct value orientation and enhance the value of the award. For example, the Best Newcomer Award, which was not valued in the past, had a lot of weight in recent years. The most direct manifestation was that since 2010, all the singers who won the Best Newcomer Award would be qualified to participate in the song and dance program of next year's Spring Festival Gala. CCTV's Spring Festival Gala was the strongest program with a ratings of more than 85% for decades. Many artists became famous through the Spring Festival Gala and embarked on the road to become a big shot in the industry. Therefore, even if it was just the qualification to participate in the program, it was enough to make people break their heads and beg for it. The Asian Chinese Music Chart's Best Newcomer Award was related to the Spring Festival Gala, so its weight could be imagined. And 3 of the previous 5 Best Newcomer Award winners had really stepped onto the stage of the Spring Festival Gala and became famous overnight. The next moment, as Chen Feier opened the envelope and took out the card with the award winner's name, the fierce accompaniment suddenly sounded, like a storm pounding on people's hearts. Even Lu Chen's heart was in his throat. He saw Chen Feier open the card, and then his eyes widened in surprise as if it was incredible. The drumming suddenly stopped. The heavenly queen of the singing industry's expression became serious. She looked ahead and said into the microphone, "The winner of the 16th Asian Chinese Music Chart's Best Newcomer Award is..." Chen Feier's lips curved into a soul-stirring and beautiful smile. Lu Chen. Lu Chen. It had only been more than half a year since his official debut. Lu Chen, who had not signed any entertainment agency and had miraculously risen in the pop music industry, had won an important award in his music career. The 16th Asian Chinese Music Chart's Best Newcomer Award. When Lu Chen heard his name coming out of Chen Feier's mouth, although he had expected and prepared for it in advance, he still felt a rush of blood rushing to his head, making his face blush, and he couldn't help showing an excited expression. After going all the way to the present, he finally got the honor that he deserved. Chen Feier smiled and said, "Congratulations, Lu Chen." The audience burst into thunderous applause. Except for a few people, most of the guests and audience were not surprised that Lu Chen won the Best Newcomer Award. Their congratulations were warm and sincere. Looking back to 2015, Lu Chen's rise in the pop music industry was really a bright spot in the industry. So far, he had created more than 20 works, each of which was excellent, and there was no lack of classics. Such talent, such high yield, and so dazzling. It could be said that because of Lu Chen, Chinese pop music in the second half of 2015 had vitality. His success also encouraged the new generation of originality to a great extent, especially the campus folk style brought by him, which made people like this kind of nostalgic work and washed away a lot of impetuous atmosphere in the music industry. Based on his contribution to music alone, Lu Chen was fully qualified to win this award. Who could be better than him? Zhou Bei couldn't, Lin Chuxian couldn't, and Xiao Bingbing couldn't. The only shortcoming of Lu Chen was that his foundation in the circle was too poor. He did not sign a contract with a powerful agency or entertainment company, but chose the difficult road of opening his own studio. Previously, he was suppressed by Shonan TV in the Chinese music chart, and this was the main reason. But in turn, it also proved the strength of Lu Chen. Will you remember tomorrow, the diary you wrote yesterday? Will you still think about tomorrow? The music sounded, and it was Lu Chen's, "You Who Sat Next to Me." The spotlight shone on him, accompanying him to the big stage that was in the limelight. At this moment, on the VIP seats, as a defeated competitor, Zhou Bei bit her lip and clapped. She lost to Lu Chen again. She was unwilling, but she could still maintain her demeanor. In contrast, Lin Chuxuan's face was a lot worse. He clapped his hands casually and put them down. As for Xiao Bingbing, she probably knew that she had no chance. She laughed heartlessly, and her reaction was the most enthusiastic. Outside the venue, on the internet, and among the audience watching the Asian Chinese Music Chart Awards ceremony, countless people congratulated Lu Chen. Chapter 304. CCTV's Asian Chinese Music Chart Awards ceremony was originally a big event in the domestic pop music industry. It was broadcast live on 2 satellite channels, plus a large number of stars, so the ratings were naturally very high. For Lu Chen's fans, the 4 nominations Lu Chen had won were undoubtedly the best reason for them to watch the live broadcast of the party on TV or the internet. At the beginning of the year, Xiangnan Satellite TV's Chinese Music Chart disappointed and angered everyone once, so they had more expectations for the authoritative and more valuable Golden Melody Chart. TN, for nominations, he should win 1, right? The result did not disappoint everyone. The first and most likely Best Newcomer award went to Lu Chen. The internet was suddenly boiling. Especially in Lu Chen's live broadcast room on Whale TV, where Lu Jiajun had been defending. From beginning to end, it was Lu Chen's most solid support, which played an irreplaceable role in gathering popularity and fan loyalty. Tonight's Asian Chinese Music Chart Awards ceremony could not be directly promoted by Whale TV due to copyright reasons. However, the news of Lu Chen's nomination had been posted early, so when Lu Chen's live broadcast room broadcast the party, the number of online viewers broke a new high. Oh yeah, Best Newcomer Award. Big Lu Chen is mighty. Oh, as expected. Besides our Lu Chen, who else is qualified for this award? Ha ha ha, I also opened a bet with others. I bet that Lu Chen could win 2 awards. He got 1. Best Newcomer and Best Composition. 2 awards are not a problem. Don't think the best composition is too simple. It really needs seniority. I don't think he can get it. Seniority again. I hate this kind of thing the most. We have to believe in Big Lu Chin. The Best Newcomer Award is just the beginning. There will be bigger awards later. Hooray, he finally won the award. Due to the large number of people online, the live broadcast room was slightly lagging. As for the bullet screen and gifts, it was needless to say. If the special effects of gifts were not set up and blocked, the scene would be unwatchable. On blogs and forums, there were countless posts celebrating Lu Chen's first Newcomer Award. Central TV is still more reliable. Lu Chen should have won the Newcomer Award a long time ago. Shonan TV's attitude. Hee, now they've been slapped in the face, right? I'm not afraid of being slapped in the face. Shonan TV's skin is as thick as a city wall. You won't be able to penetrate it even if you practice the iron palm. My thoughts are finally clear now. Last time, I was so depressed. Sigh, I don't want to talk about it. The bitterness is over and the sweetness is here. Congratulations. On the brilliant and dazzling main hall stage of the National Grand Theatre, Lu Chen received the award from Chen Feier. The main body of the Asian Chinese songs chart was a lifelike lark with a musical note in its mouth. It was made of pure copper and had a gilded surface. The shape was very exquisite, and of course, it was not light. Their eyes met. Although they did not say anything, the look in each other's eyes was enough to explain everything. With a charming smile, Chen Feier suddenly opened her arms and hugged Lu Chen. She said softly, "Congratulations." Lu Chen naturally accepted her hug and congratulations. The two of them openly and secretly showed their love in front of hundreds of millions of people. This scene immediately caused an uproar at the scene. The audience laughed and applauded at the same time. The love between Lu Chen and Chen Feier was gradually moving from the underground to the sunshine. Step by step, it was like the spring rain moistening the soil. Those who understood would naturally understand, and those who did not understand would gradually understand. Accompanied by flashes of light, this scene was captured by the reporters and photographers at the scene in time. It was believed that it would become one of the best pictures in related entertainment news reports. Of course, showing their love couldn't be too excessive, especially under the eyes of the public. In order to avoid killing the single dogs, Lu Chen and Chen Feier let go of each other at the same time. The latter smiled and stepped aside. Now the main character was Lu Chen. Holding the heavy award in his hand, Lu Chen took a deep breath and suppressed the excitement in his heart. He said to the microphone, "Thank you, everyone, thanks CCTV and CCTV. Thank you to the Golden Songs Charts judging panel for giving me this important award. It gave me the biggest surprise of this year." Applause sounded again. Lu Chen continued, "Embarking on the road of music was an accident, but it was precisely this accident that let me find the most important goal in life. Along the way to this day, I need to thank a lot of people, like Brother Tan Hong, like Miss Chen Feier, and many fans who support me. Without you, there would be no present and no future for me. And the person I am most grateful to is my mother. I think at this moment, she must be sitting in front of the TV. I want to tell her that I will always be her pride. Thank you." Lu Chen took a step back, bowed deeply, and saluted to express his gratitude. The live applause suddenly sounded like a storm in the main hall of the National Center for the Performing Arts. One by one, the guests stood up and gave sincere congratulations to Lu Chen. After a full 10 seconds, Lu Chen straightened up again. He raised the award in his hand and waved it twice, then returned to his seat with Chen Feier. The award ceremony of the Asian Chinese music chart was far from over. The next awards were the Best Producer and the Best Lyrics Award. The former had nothing to do with Lu Chen, while the latter was nominated by Lu Chen. However, unlike the Best Newcomer Award, the other three nominees for the Lyrics Award were all well-known top writers in the industry. In terms of lyrics, they were far more experienced and famous than Lu Qin. Therefore, although Lu Chen's nominated work, I Love You China, was sung all over the country in 2015, he still had no chance of winning this award. In the end, it was won by the famous songwriter Wang Guangzong. Wang Guangzong was a senior in the circle. He had been in the industry for decades and had cooperated with many famous singers. He had won many awards, so he behaved very calmly. After saying a few words of thanks, he left the stage. After the Best Lyrics Award, it was the Best Composition Award, which was also a very important award. Lu Qin also got nominated with I Love You China, but unfortunately, his competitors were the same as before. They were all famous figures in the industry, Dong Zhen, Zhang Qi, and Tang Xia. In terms of experience, fame, and connections, Lu Qin was at least a few streets behind these three gods. His only advantage was that Dong Zhen, Zhang Qi, and Tang Xia did not have any very classic works in 2015. Their nominated works were not as popular as I Love You China. However, even so, except for Lu Chen's fans, not many people were optimistic that he could win this award. Chapter 305. Since his debut in 2015, Lu Chen's fans have increased at an astonishing rate, especially the fans in Wave's blog. In just over half a year, it has soared from tens of thousands to more than 15 million. But the core of his fan support group has always been Lu Jiejun, which was established by Li Mubai. So far, Lu Jiejun has more than 500,000 members, which is the backbone of Lu Chen's support. The number of QQ groups has reached 200 plus. With Whale TV, Lu Chen Live Room, Wave's blog, Lu Chen Fan Group Official V, and Lu Chen Bar as the base, it has formed a considerable scale. On the evening of February 18, 2016, the Asian Chinese Music Chart award ceremony, organized by CCTV and Broadcast Live, received the attention of thousands of fans because Lu Qin had 4 nominations. There are many fans watching TV or live video while discussing with others in blogs and Tieba. There are new posts in Lu Qin Bar every second, and the PV traffic has set a record. These fans don't like Whale TV, nor do they like the style of the blog. They stay in Tieba all year round and post. Once there is any activity, they often attack together, so they are often called Water Army. There are 2 kinds of Water Army, one is mineral water, and the other is tap water. The former costs money, and the latter is free. In Lu Chen Bar, it's basically all tap water. Therefore, when Lu Chen won the Best Award, the Tieba was boiling, and countless congratulatory posts gushed out like magma that had been pierced through the Earth's crust, brushing the front page red. However, this hot atmosphere did not last long. As the awards ceremony continued, it gradually calmed down. Especially when Lu Qin lost the Best Lyrics Award, the Tieba was full of lamentation. The Best Lyrics Award is really out of the question, as expected. Don't say I'm ignorant. Who are these people? I really don't know them. You don't know Wang Guangzong? Haven't heard of Spring Dawn, The Moon Illuminates My Hometown, and The End of the Road? Don't say any more. Wang Guangzong is still very powerful. He's a real big shot. It's normal for Lu Qin to lose. What do you mean by normal? Even if he was very good in the past, I've never heard of his current award-winning work. Who hasn't heard of Lu Chen's I Love You China? The awards are not based on the popularity of the songs. The fans of Lu Chen's forum expressed their regret and indignation over Lu Chen's failure to win the Best Lyricist award. However, they were still able to accept it. There were not many extreme comments or people shouting that Central TV was involved in shady dealings. Compared to Lu Chen's cold reception on the Chinese music chart, the honor he had received now made it impossible for people to criticize Central TV's integrity. At least they could guarantee fairness. Of course, there were also many optimists on Tiba. Someone posted, "Don't panic, everyone. There's still the Best Composition and Best Album awards." His post was immediately echoed by other fans. Yes, the Best Composition award has begun. Lu Chen has a chance. However, not everyone supported his view. A friend with the ID heavy metal element replied, "He doesn't even have a chance for the Best Lyricist award. How can he have a chance for the Best Composition award? Dream on. I Love You China is just a so-so. It's just because it's a theme song. Otherwise, it wouldn't even have a nomination." To put it bluntly, Lu Chen is being praised too highly. Lin Chuxian is not any worse than him among the newcomers. Heavy metal element was obviously a passerby. His fan value in Lu Chen's forum was 0. Therefore, this reply immediately angered his friends. In the blink of an eye, there was a long line of attacks. Where did this black person come from? Get lost as far as your thoughts can go. Hee, I'm jealous again. I'm so jealous. Speaking of which, are you a fan of Lin Chuxian? Everyone, don't be fooled. This guy is deliberately picking a fight. It's best to ignore him. Faced with the attacks of many fans, heavy metal element replied again, "Hee, Lu Chen's fans are all like this. I'll say it here today. If he can win the Best Composition award, I'll eat this custom-made magic keyboard in front of me." This taunt was so powerful that it instantly attracted a lot of hatred and angered even more friends. Betting on eating keyboards was a common trick used by netizens in Tiba and forums. There were also people betting on eating sh*t. Of course, that was not within the scope of discussion. There was actually someone who would eat a keyboard if they lost, a chocolate keyboard. Because it was a trick, no one would take it seriously. It was just that heavy metal element's attitude was too infuriating. He insulted all the fans in the forum. In addition, the custom-made magic keyboard was also a very subtle taunt. The magic keyboard was the aristocrat of keyboards. The normal mass-produced version started at $1,000. The custom-made version was very common and ordinary people couldn't afford it. And the netizens in Tiba were basically ordinary people. But many fans remained silent about heavy metal element's taunt. Because to be honest, the possibility of Lu Chen winning the Best Composition award was really very low. The Best Composition award was a lot more important than the Best Lyrics award and the Best Newcomer award. In the history of the Asian Chinese Songs chart, no one had ever won the Best Newcomer award and the Best Composition award at the same time. Most importantly, Lu Chen's competitors were too strong: Dongjin, Zhang Qi, and Tang Xia. Generally speaking, the popularity of a songwriter was big and weaker than that of a singer. The two were not on the same level at all. People would only remember who the original singer of a good song was and rarely care about the author, unless the author was the singer himself. No matter how high the songwriter's status in the circle was, it couldn't change this phenomenon. Dong Zhen, Zhang Qi, and Tang Xia were all famous composers whose names were remembered by many fans. That was why heavy metal element dared to taunt the group in Lu Chen's Tiba so unscrupulously. Then what was the use of taunting him? The result would only make him more proud. While the war was raging in the Tiba, the winner of the Best Composition award was about to be announced in the National Grand Theatre. Li Xing was in charge of announcing the winner. Li Xing, 32 years old, was one of the rare 3 superstars in the country. She had debuted for 17 years, published more than a dozen albums, starred in many movies and TV series, and achieved great achievements in all aspects. In terms of status in the circle, she was a level higher than Qin Fei, but now Qin Fei, had the momentum of catching up with the popular Autumn in My Heart. Li Xing was wearing a sapphire blue deep V-neck evening gown that night. Under the spotlight, half of her breasts were exposed, and her mature charm couldn't be hidden. She gracefully tore open the sealed envelope, took out the card from inside, and opened it. The next moment, Heavenly Queen Li showed a surprised expression, as if she had seen something incredible. Her expression was also displayed on the big LED screen behind her, and it was seen by hundreds of millions of viewers at the same time. But everyone had seen many award ceremonies and knew that the guest presenters loved to play this kind of expression trick. They pretended to be in suspense, but often there wasn't much suspense, and it was just to create a little dramatic effect. The guests at the scene were even more used to it, and quietly waited for her to reveal the mystery. However, Li Xing opened her red lips and spat out 2 words. Lu Qin. Lu Qin. Lu Qin. How could it be Lu Qin? The audience was stunned. It was as if a supporting role had suddenly become the main character. It was too unbelievable. But the music that instantly sounded in the main hall let everyone know that they did not hear wrongly. A lark flies across the blue sky. I love you, China, I love you, China. I love you, China, I love you, vigorous seedlings in spring, I love you, golden fruits in autumn. That's right, it was Lu Qin, and it was his, I love you, China. With this work that was already a household name, Lu Qin won the Best Composition crown of the 16th Asian Chinese Top Songs chart, winning his 2nd Golden Lark Award, and it was an even more important one. Li Xing smiled and said, "Congratulations, Lu Qin." The spotlight instantly shone on Lu Qin. Lu Qin did not expect that after losing the Best Lyrics Award, he could actually win the Best Composition Award. He was really caught off guard and could not help but look stunned. Of course, his reaction was normal. He was not a robot, and it would be strange if he did not react. Chen Fei gently pushed him, turned around, and said with a smile, "Congratulations." She was the first to clap her hands. The audience seemed to wake up from a dream, and at the same time, there was a hubbub of applause. Who would have thought that Central TV would release such a big bomb? It was estimated that tomorrow's entertainment news would be torn apart. In fact, strictly speaking, Lu Qin deserved to win the Best Composition Award. The song he nominated, I Love You, China, had a good combination of pop elements and main melody style. It could be said that it was the best work of the same genre in recent years, and it was the most popular song that was most appreciated by the public. The reason why everyone was not optimistic about Lu Qin before was that his competitors were too strong. The most criticized thing about the Asian Chinese Top Songs chart, which had been held for more than a dozen years, was that there was a phenomenon of seniority. Most of the important awards would not be awarded to young people who had just debuted. As a result, in the last session, there was a big news. However, people with discerning eyes could see that Central TV was not deliberately playing to the gallery, but deliberately encouraged and supported the new power of pop music, so that young musicians could have more opportunities to stand out. This was a good thing for the domestic pop music industry, and people could not help but look forward to the global Chinese Top Songs chart, which would be held on December 31st this year, by the merger of the Asian Chinese Top Songs chart and the China Original Music chart. Therefore, while everyone was surprised, they also gave a warm applause to Lu Qin, who had walked onto the stage. This was his glorious moment. Chapter 306. It was an accident, an absolute accident. The Best Composition Award in the Asian Chinese Music chart was undoubtedly the first dark horse of the night. The fans who witnessed Lu Qin's reappearance on the stage to receive the award went crazy. In Lu Qin's bar, Heavy Metal Element, who had bet half a minute ago that he would eat a keyboard, was immediately ridiculed by countless fans. The replies were extremely sarcastic. "Ha, someone is going to eat a keyboard, a custom-made magic keyboard. I believe the taste must be very good." Remember to do a live broadcast when you eat it, otherwise everyone won't recognize it. Lu Qin is big and mighty, the haters will eat sh*t. I really didn't expect this. This is the biggest surprise of the night, right? What a tragedy for this guy who eats a keyboard. Hurry up and eat. Everyone is waiting. Don't pretend to be a turtle. In fact, since Li Xing announced the winner of the Best Composition Award, Heavy Metal Element really pretended to be a turtle. He shrank his head and did not say a word no matter how his friends ridiculed and scolded him, as if nothing had happened. As for the bet to eat a keyboard, if you were serious, you would lose. However, the majority of friends in the bar were very unhappy. Although they had miraculously succeeded in slapping him in the face, it was very helpless for someone to pretend to be a turtle. They could not penetrate the screen and pull him out through the network cable to beat him up, could they? However, when a star had a lot of fans, there would naturally be all kinds of people. Some people might look no different from ordinary people on the internet, but their actual combat power and action might be instantly off the charts. Immediately, fans who had mastered special skills used the legendary god-level trick on the ID Heavy Metal Element, Human Flesh Search. They wanted to see what kind of person this hater was. If they didn't skin him alive, they would never give up. While people were celebrating and ridiculing on the internet, on the stage of the National Grand Theatre, Lu Qin received the Golden Lark Award from Li Xing. Congratulations. Li Xing showed a bright smile and opened her arms to give Lu Qin a hug. Of course, it was purely out of courtesy. She met Lu Qin at the opening ceremony of the Hangzhou Shizi Cultural Festival last year. At that time, there was a big storm because of the sulfuric acid incident. Li Xing appreciated Lu Qin's bravery and fearlessness. Moreover, Li Xing was from Hangzhou City. She and Lu Qin could be considered to be from the same hometown, so they had to be more intimate. 2 heavyweight awards before and after, and 2 heavenly queens of the singing world presented the awards. It really made people feel envious and jealous of Lu Qin. Tonight, the limelight of the Asian Chinese music chart was all stolen by him. Thank you. Lu Qin said into the microphone, I'm really surprised, because in my opinion, compared to Teacher Dong Zhen, Teacher Zhang Qi, and Teacher Tang Xia, I have too much to learn. At this time, under the direction of the director, the lighting technician shone the spotlights on the 3 composers. At the same time, a close-up shot. These 3 seniors were still very graceful. Although they lost to a newcomer like Lu Qin, they were not excited or dissatisfied. They were still smiling and looking calm. I Love You China was a work that could win the Best Composition Award. The choice of the judges was not wrong. Lu Qin continued, I'm very grateful to CCTV and CCTV for giving me such a high honor. I also want to thank my mentors in life and career. They are Su Bo, Mo Ran, and Fang Mingyi. Without them, I wouldn't be where I am today. Lu Qin did not expect to win the Best Composition Award, so he did not prepare a speech. He did not repeat what he said before, so he took this opportunity to say what he had been suppressing in his heart. Without that bizarre dream, without these 3 people in the dream, no matter how hard Lu Qin worked, he would not be standing here. He thanked God for the luck bestowed upon him, and also thanked Su Bo, Mo Ran, and Fang Mingyi. It was hard to tell whether it was a dream or reality. Remember your original intention and never forget to be grateful. Thank you again. Lu Qin bowed deeply to all the guests for the 2nd time, and at the same time, he also expressed his gratitude to the 3 people in his memory. Amidst the waves of applause, he returned to his seat. After sitting down again, Lu Qin still felt a little unreal. He could not help but clench the award in his hand. The award was very real. Awesome! Li Mubai, who was sitting next to him, quietly gave a thumbs up to Lu Qin. He also played music before, and he knew how difficult it was for Lu Qin to win this award. It was like he was using a cheat. Lu Chen smiled faintly and felt quite emotional in his heart. Unknowingly, he had reached this step so quickly, and he had won 2 big prizes. Li Mubai's eyes lit up and he said, "There's still the Best Album Award." He obviously hoped that Lu Chen could win again. But Lu Chen knew very well that it was all for him tonight. It was impossible for him to win the Best Album Award. If such a heaven-defying thing really happened, then he must write the word "big" to CCTV. In fact, after winning the Best Composition Award, Lu Chen already had a whole new level of respect for CCTV. The Best Album of the Year on the Golden Melody chart was announced after the Best Group. Previously, MSN was nominated for the Best New Group, but in the end, they lost to another boy group, July Heaven. They lost for real and were a little unconvinced. MSN's debut album, Not Yet Lovers, had a sales result that completely crushed its opponents. As for the Best Album Award, Lu Chen lost very naturally. CCTV and the Golden Melody chart judges panel had given him enough glory. It was impossible to let him be complacent until the end. In this regard, even the fans who watched the live broadcast on the internet accepted it calmly. They had long been satisfied. There were only 21 awards in the Asian Chinese music chart. In terms of weight, in addition to the Best Male and Female Singer, it was the Best Album, which was a very high honor in the industry. In addition, Chen Fei was nominated for the Best Female Singer, but the crown was taken away by Zhang Linji. Zhang Linji was also a domestic A-list female singer. Although Chen Fei was greater than her in both fame and status, she did not release a solo album in 2015. Several songs written by Lu Chen for her were not officially released on the market, so her influence last year was weaker than that of Zhang Linji, who was very active. Chen Fei was a little regretful, but he still sincerely wished Zhang Linji well. As for the Best Male Singer, it was won by Hu Gong, who was also a domestic A-list singer. After more than 2 hours of ceremony, the 16th and final Asian Chinese music chart officially came to an end at the National Grand Theatre in Beijing. This very important domestic pop music award had come to an end and was about to welcome new glory. After the end of the party, Lu Chen accepted an interview with CCTV Music Channel. Chapter 307. As the first heavyweight awards ceremony of the pan-entertainment industry in 2016, the end of the 16th Asian Chinese Songs Chart was undoubtedly a major event in the entertainment industry, especially in the pop music industry. The next day, February 19th, the headlines of major entertainment newspapers and websites were basically occupied by the content related to the award ceremony. All kinds of gossip and commentary articles flooded the media to bid farewell to the authoritative music awards that had lasted for more than a decade. After 10 years of hard work, Zhang Linji finally won the title of Best Female Singer on the Chinese Songs Chart. Chen Fei lost to Zhang Linji and faces a difficult transition. The end of an era. Tan Hong left the pop music industry with the Chinese Songs Chart. Lu Chen lived up to expectations and won the Best Newcomer award on the Golden Songs Chart. First won the Best Newcomer, then won the Best Composition. The music genius Lu Chen shocked the Chinese Songs Chart. In the morning, Lu Shi deliberately emptied the file cabinet in the office and solemnly put the 2 Golden Lark Awards in it. She also inserted the glass of the cabinet door so that it could be seen more clearly. This was the first time that Lu Chen had won a music award, and it was 2 very valuable awards. Her sister wanted to treasure this honor of his as a memento forever. In addition, she also posted the video clip of Lu Chen's interview with CCTV's 15th Music Channel on Lu Chen Studios' blog. Like many star artists, there were currently 3 accounts related to Lu Chen on Waves' blog. The first was Lu Chen's own account, Lu Chen FMX, which had more than 15 million fans. It was a celebrity's personal blog, and most of its blog posts were about life and entertainment. The second was the official account of Lu Qin's studio, which was registered 2 months ago, with more than 3 million fans. It mainly published news related to Lu Qin, such as he was going to release a new song or participate in a certain endorsement event. The last one was Lu Qin's fan club, Lu Jiajun, with more than 5 million fans. The first 2 blogs were mainly managed by Lu Shi, especially the official V of Lu Qin Studio. Her sister personally completed the daily content updates. The situation of the last support group was relatively more complicated. There were several managers, including Li Mubai. With the continuous appearance of Lu Qin's music and film works, his fame grew, and his influence on the internet and in real life also grew. In less than a year since his debut, he had faintly become an A-list celebrity. Of course, the world was so big and complicated. It was impossible for any celebrity idol to be liked and worshipped by everyone. Just as there was light, there was darkness. There were real fans, but there were also haters. There were people who supported them, but there were also people who sold them. On the entertainment channel of one of the largest portals in China, the headline of the day was, Best Composition on the Chinese Golden Songs Chart, the biggest upset or the biggest shady deal. Among the 4 major portals in China, the EasyNet had always been famous for its boldness. It often stirred up sensitive controversial topics in advance to earn more traffic and attention. Many national and current affairs, entertainment gossip, military and economic news headlines were extremely eye-catching. The editors were often unscrupulous with their personal opinions, which made a lot of jokes. Therefore, many netizens jokingly called it Pig Farm. For example, when reporting the Asian Chinese Golden Songs chart, the EasyNet Entertainment channel was obviously not willing to be the same as other media, so it directly set up Lu Qin as a target. The article attacked him by innuendo, and the title was quite shocking. In this article, the editor first mentioned the other 3 composers who were nominated for the Best Composition Award, introduced the identity, qualifications, and works of Dong Zhen, Zhang Qi, and Tang Xia respectively, and then downplayed Lu Qin. In this way, if readers who did not know the truth read it, they would feel that the first 3 were better than Lu Qin. How could Lu Qin win the Best Composition Award? Was there really a shady deal? The article would not tell readers that in 2015, Lu Qin's works, whether in quantity or quality, had steadily surpassed the 3 competitors. It also did not clearly tell readers that Lu Qin won the award because of the popular song, I Love You, China. Attacking CCTV, attacking Lu Qin, and at the same time provoking the relationship between Lu Qin and the seniors in the circle, the headline of the EasyNet Entertainment channel almost made Lu Shi, who had just seen the news online, explode with anger. I'm going to sue them. Lu Qin said with a smile, ignore them. The more you ignore them, the more fun they will make. It was a very profound knowledge for stars and artists to deal with the media. Some stars were discredited by the media, while some stars were doted on by the media. How to put it, was it because there was a huge difference in the character and morality of the 2? The answer was completely no. Those entertainment agencies had a public relations department, which was responsible for dealing with the media. Agents of stars also had this responsibility, which was a very important daily work. For ordinary entertainment reporters who came to interview, it was necessary to give them a red packet. For large media, sending some benefits was equivalent to paying a protection fee. In case of any scandal of a star artist, how to deal with the emergency public relations was actually very important. Lu Qin's rise was too fast, so Lu Qin's studio really lacked a lot of experience and network accumulation in this aspect. Even if they wanted to spend money, they had to spend it in the right place. Otherwise, they would only be treated as a fool. The headline of the EasyNet Entertainment channel was actually a wake-up call for him. Of course, as Lu Qin said, there was no need to pay attention to this matter at all. The more he defended and refuted, the easier it was to be discredited. As for the lawsuit, it was purely Lu Shi's angry words. Lu Chen was really not angry. The dignified EasyNet came to discredit him, which showed that he had a bit of influence. EasyNet was too lazy to waste its space on Tom, Dick, and Harry. Lu Shi also understood. In fact, they were jealous and retaliating. Our album wasn't released on EasyNet before, and our TV series weren't broadcasted by them. EasyNet owns EasyNet Games, EasyNet Music, EasyNet Video, EasyNet Live Broadcast, EasyNet YY, and so on. When Lu Chen's album, You Who Sat Next to Me, was released online, EasyNet Music also took the initiative to contact it, and the online premiere rights of Autumn in My Heart were also contacted by EasyNet Video. But Lu Chen chose the more powerful QQ Music and QQ Video. It would be strange if EasyNet didn't have any grudges. Even Senki, which Lu Chen's spokesperson, advertised on the QQ portal. If the album release of You Who Sat Next to Me was a mosquito's leg, but Autumn in My Heart was simply a big piece of fat meat. So far, the total number of views of this 20-episode TV series on QQ Video has exceeded 3.5 billion, setting the highest average number of views of a series. Relying solely on video advertising and new members, QQ Video has made a lot of money, which made many peers envious, jealous, and hateful. EasyNet Video was undoubtedly one of them. Now, it was normal for EasyNet to discredit Lu Chen. Of course, the moral integrity of this kind of media is basically negative. If Lu Chen sells the online premiere rights of his new TV series to EasyNet Video, he will definitely be praised to the sky immediately. Lu Shi said thoughtfully, we need to hire a professional media public relations. As mentioned earlier, Lu Chen's rise was too fast, and Lu Chen Studio couldn't keep up at all. So far, there were only 2 or 3 members. Not to mention that Lu Shi had to work hard herself, she also had no scruples in many aspects. It was imperative to hire more professionals to join. Only in this way could Lu Chen be better supported. Lu Chen agreed, then let's recruit people, and our studio will also have to change places. Not only should the number of people be increased, but the scale of the studio should also be expanded. Lu Chen has already talked to Lu Shi about the establishment of the recording studio, and Lu Shi also agreed. The key to determining the superstructure was the foundation. With a strong team and its own foundation, it would not be easily controlled by others. The only question now was, where would the new studio be opened? In order to avoid repeating the same mistakes, coupled with the need to build a recording studio, the new studio must have a large area of space, as well as the potential and space for follow-up development. In the capital, where every inch of land was expensive, such a place was not easy to find, unless they moved to the outer suburbs. Lu Shi said, I have asked Director Lin to help me see if I can find a place in the art park. The New Era Art Center was established in 2001. It was located between Haidian Park and Beijing University. It covered an area of nearly 700 mu. It was one of the key construction projects of Beijing's art and culture. After more than 10 years of development, the New Era Art Park gathered a large number of well-known domestic film and television, music, literature, and art production units. Big and small companies and studios were as many as thousands. It could be called a place where people gathered. For Lu Chen Studio, there was no place more suitable for development than the art park. But the problem was that the place was too good. There was no vacant space at all, unless other companies withdrew. This required luck and connections. Otherwise, even if there was a place to rent, it might not be a turn. Lu Chen felt a headache thinking about it. He had promised Wang Hui to build the recording studio as soon as possible. I'll ask Sister Fei again. She should know someone who knows about it. Compared with Lin Jijia of Flying Stone Records, Chen Fei's connections in the circle were undoubtedly stronger. Tap. Tap. At this time, the door of the manager's office was gently knocked on. Lu Shi and Lu Chen turned their heads at the same time and saw Lu Shi's assistant, Chen Xian, appear at the door and said, "Sister Lu Shi, brother Lu Chen, Miss Chen Fei, is here." Chen Fei, Lu Shi and Lu Chen looked at each other in dismay. "Speak of the devil and he will come." Lu Chen immediately jumped up from his seat. "I'll go and greet him." Previously, Chen Fei called Lu Chen and knew that he was in the studio, but he didn't expect her to come directly now. Then she must have something important to do. Chapter 308. Lu Chen's studio naturally welcomed the arrival of the diva of the singing world. Today, Chen Fei changed into a Chanel spring dress. Obviously, she liked this brand very much. She had been endorsing Chanel's brand all the time, and she was surrounded by a lot of people. Under normal circumstances, there would be at least 5 or 6 people by her side. As for the number of people behind the scenes, it was at least 4 or 5 times more. In fact, it was not the first time for Chen Fei to come to Lu Chen's studio. She had been here twice before. Of course, it was business. This time was no exception, because her new album had been waiting for too long, and it could not be delayed any longer. As early as last year, the news was released that Chen Fei's new album would be her transformational work, so it attracted the attention of the outside world. Fei's fans were also eagerly looking forward to the release of this new album. According to the original plan, her album should be released around December last year. However, because of the shooting of Autumn in My Heart, there had been no news until now. Many fans went to her blog to complain. Naturally, Chen Fei couldn't sit still. She had great expectations for her new album. She invited 3 works from Lu Chen. Plus the theme song of Autumn in My Heart, Your Eyes, there were currently 4 songs. Write me another song, enough for half of the album. The diva of the singing world begged Lu Chen softly in Lu Shi's manager's office, which made the latter's resistance infinitely drop to 0. "Well, give me some time. I'll write another song for you." A charming smile suddenly appeared on Chen Fei's pretty face. She held Lu Chen's hand and said, "Thank you." Ahem. Lu Shi couldn't help coughing and said, "Shall I go out first?" She really couldn't stand the closeness between them. Fortunately, she closed the door just now, otherwise it would be bad if others saw it. Chen Fei pursed her lips and said with a smile, "I still have a contract. I need Sister Shi to help Lu Chen read it." Lu Shi was curious. "What contract?" Chen Fei took out a document from her bag and handed it to Lu Chen. "It's for you." Lu Chen took it and looked at it, and was immediately stunned. This was a house transfer contract. Chen Fei transferred the property of room 1701 of Building 7 of Zicheng Garden District under her name to Lu Chen. The transfer price was 30 million, without interest, and it would be paid in 5 years. Lu Chen is now renting a single apartment not far from the studio. The location is not bad, and the rent is very cheap, but it is no longer suitable for him to live in. Because Lu Chen's fame is getting bigger and bigger, and his public influence is getting higher and higher, the environment he enters and exits is very important, otherwise it will cause a lot of unnecessary trouble. Not to mention anything else, Chen Fei sneaked over to meet him privately, and that small apartment was very awkward and inconvenient. Therefore, Lu Chen already had the idea of buying a house in the capital. Chen Fei was very supportive of his idea. He even recommended the property in the 300 square meter high-class residential area under his name to him. After all, one should not let the fertile water fall into an outsider's field. However, Lu Chen really couldn't fork out more than 30 million yuan. Chen Fei was a very smart woman. She had a good understanding of Lu Chen's character. She knew that the latter would not accept such an expensive gift from her for nothing. Therefore, she took the opportunity to talk about the album and took out such a contract for Lu Qin. He definitely had to pay for the house. There was a discount according to the market price, but it wasn't much cheaper. Considering Lu Chen's actual situation, they offered him a favorable treatment of paying in installments. Of course, there were conditions. Chen Fei smiled slyly, like a fox that had just stolen a hen. I don't want your interest, but I won't give you the money for these 5 songs. This way, I can avoid taxes. Paying taxes according to the law is glorious. Lu Qin said with a wry smile, it seems that I have to sign it. Chen Fei really knew him. She knew that he was a little male chauvinist, so she carefully made this contract. He felt warm and touched in his heart. Let me see. Lu Chen's expression made Lu Shi suspicious. She immediately grabbed the contract from the former's hand. She was also stunned. After a while, her sister asked with a faint smile, are you two planning to live together? This deceiving contract, even if it was worth 30 million yuan, was nothing in Lu Shi's eyes. With Lu Chen's current speed of making money, he didn't need 5 years at all. It would be enough to make a blockbuster TV series. What was really interesting was Chen Fei's thoughts. Chen Fei's pretty face turned red. She took Lu Shi's hand and said, Sister Shi, this is for your family. This house was a double story, with a total of 5 rooms, which was enough for Lu Chen's family to live in. Lu Shi giggled and said, I won't live here, and my mother won't live in the capital. But Lu Chen needs a good house, so I'll let him sign this contract. If at the beginning, Lu Shi still had a little repulsion for Chen Fei, then now she really regarded the latter as her sister-in-law, so she naturally wouldn't interfere with the couple's happy life. Chen Fei smiled happily. What she was most afraid of was that Lu Chen would lose his temper and abandon her intentions. Now she didn't have to worry about it. After all, this house was for 2 people to live in. Lu Chen raised his hands in surrender. Well, I'll sign it. Let's get down to business. Speaking of business, Chen Fei also had something to say. Let's go to Flying Stone Records. Big brother Lin wants to meet with us and talk about how to do my new album. Chen Fei's new album was produced by Flying Stone Records, supervised by Lin Jijie himself, and invited many well-known songwriters and arrangers in the circle to join in order to create a successful transformational work. This album was very important to Chen Fei, and Flying Stone Records did not dare to neglect it in the slightest. If it was done badly, it would really smash their own brand. Therefore, the lineup behind the scenes was quite strong. But for both sides, the key to this album was not only Chen Fei, but also Lu Chen. Chen Fei's ambition was very big. Success in sales alone could not satisfy her. What she expected was to create a real classic and complete a gorgeous turn. In this way, the 3 songs originally invited to Lu Chen were not enough, and she needed more fine works. It should be known that all the songs in Lu Chen's album, You Who Sat Next to Me, have been on the original music chart. Except for Lu Chen, I'm afraid no one else can help Chen Fei fulfill her wish. Because of the recording studio, Lu Chen wanted to talk to Lin Jijie, and now it was just the right time. Let's go. So the two left Lu Chen's studio together and drove to Flying Stone Records. Chapter 309. After the 8th day of the first lunar month, big and small companies in Beijing have opened for business. Of course, Flying Stone Records was no exception, but the Celebrate the Spring Festival banner was still hung on the porch on the ground floor of the building. A row of long red lanterns still exuded the festive atmosphere of the new year, and the ground was still red from the explosion of firecrackers. Lu Chen and Chen Fei came together, and Lin Jijie and a vice president of Flying Stone Records greeted them at the door in person. Such a courtesy made Lu Chen secretly feel strange. He and Chen Fei and Lin Jijie were friends. The two sides often came to Flying Stone Records and were very familiar with each other. Moreover, it wasn't the first or second time that they came to Flying Stone Records. Even if Lu Chen's status has improved a lot now, there's no need to be so formal and grand, right? Must there be a request for courtesy? Lu Chen thought in his heart, and asked with a smile, "Big brother Lin, why are you so polite? I'll be embarrassed to visit next time." Chen Fei also said with a smile, "Yes, Big brother Lin is too polite." Lin Jijia laughed and said, "You're welcome, you're welcome. You two are the first group of distinguished guests this year. Of course, it should be grand. I haven't congratulated Lu Chen on winning the Best Newcomer and Best Composition awards. It's a pity that it's not now." As the music director of Flying Stone Records, Lin Jijia was of course eligible to participate in the Asian Chinese Music Chart award ceremony, but he just came back from abroad yesterday, so he couldn't catch up with the party. Of course, it was not too late to send congratulations now. Lu Chen said with a smile, "Thank you." The group of people chatted and laughed and came to the conference room of Flying Stone Records. Because Chen Fei had been notified in advance, Flying Stone Records was already ready. Many of the key members of the record company were already sitting in the conference room, and the LCD TV on the wall also showed the words, "Chen Fei's new album, Woman Flower, Production Seminar." Seeing Lu Chen, Chen Fei and others coming in, these elites of Flying Stone Records got up to greet them. Flying Stone Records attaches great importance to Chen Fei's transformational work and strives to make a good start in 2016. Therefore, they have formed a capable force headed by Lin Jijia to be responsible for the production and distribution of the new album. Woman Flower was the name of the new album. This song was tailor-made by Lu Chen for Chen Fei, and it was also the title song of the album. According to the plan, the music video would be shot next week for pre-promotion. Today's small meeting was to discuss the production, publicity and other work of the album. Because Chen Fei has his own independent studio, and the new album was outsourced to Flying Stone Records, there must be a lot of cooperation problems. In addition, Lu Chen had joined the team, so all aspects needed to be coordinated. In addition to Lu Chen, Chen Fei and Lin Jijia, there were also the producers, songwriters, arrangers, recording studio, publicity and so on of Flying Stone Records. The meeting lasted for almost 2 hours before it ended, and the atmosphere was friendly and warm. Lu Chen didn't speak much, but no one dared to ignore his existence. He alone was responsible for the creation of half of the album, and he was also responsible for the co-arrangement and supervision, which was even more important than Lin Jijia. After the meeting, Lin Jijia took Lu Chen and Chen Fei to his office. The music director of Flying Stone Records personally made coffee for the two of them. The coffee he used was excellent, with a rich and mellow taste. The strange thing was that there was not much bitterness, and it tasted particularly smooth. Although Lu Chen was not an expert in tasting coffee, he could taste the extraordinariness. In contrast, Chen Fei was more knowledgeable. After taking a few sips, she was quite moved. "Big brother Lin, is this authentic Blue Mountain coffee?" Lin Jijia said with a smile, "Yes, I just brought back Blue Mountain coffee from Japan. There are only 2 pounds. If you like it, take 1 pound back when you leave." Blue Mountain Coffee was one of the best coffee in the world, but it was also the most counterfeited coffee brand. In China, it was ruined like pearl milk tea. In any city, you could casually walk into a coffee shop, and you could order a cup of so-called Blue Mountain coffee that cost dozens of yuan. In fact, the annual output of this kind of coffee from Blue Mountain in Jamaica does not exceed 100 tons, and most of it is supplied to European and American countries, and there are very few domestic imports. Because the Japanese have invested a lot in the industrial chain of Blue Mountain coffee, they have obtained a lot of market share, so authentic Blue Mountain coffee can still be bought in Japan, but the price has been hyped very much. 1 pound. Chen Fei pursed her lips and said with a smile, "Big brother Lin is too polite. If you have something to say, just say it." As smart as she was, how could she not see that Lin Jijie had something to ask of her, so she was extraordinarily polite. Sure enough, I can't hide it from Fei. Lin Jijie was not embarrassed to be seen through. He said with a smile, "In fact, it's not my business. I just want to ask Lu Qin, do you have any plans to shoot a new TV series this year?" Lu Qin suddenly understood that Flying Stone Records was also eyeing his new play. The great success of Autumn in My Heart made Lu Qin a hot figure in the film and television circle in just a few months. The 20-episode urban romance drama premiered on Hygiene Satellite TV and created the highest ratings record of the same type of TV series in recent years, and made many newcomers, including Lu Qin himself, popular. For example, Hu Yang, who played the first male supporting role of Han Taishi, and Zhang Liwei, who played the first female supporting role of Cui Xinai, were both artists who had debuted for a long time. But before the broadcast of Autumn in My Heart, how many people had heard of the names of these two? Now Hu Yang's commercial performance started at 200,000 yuan, and the brand endorsement was at least 3 million yuan. His value had skyrocketed dozens of times, and he was busy with advertisements, which made many of his peers envious and jealous. There were also Zhang Juanji and Yi Mingmei, who played the role of Juanxi and Eunhee when they were young, who also became famous overnight. As for Chinda Brothers Pictures, which invested in the filming of Autumn in My Heart, it was even more prosperous. The success of Autumn in My Heart was really a miracle. It had a great influence in and out of the circle, and the ratings of the first episode of the replay on Beijing Television and Zhejiang Satellite TV both exceeded 1%, which was enough to prove that the popularity of the show had not diminished. Under such circumstances, Lu Chen's new play this year has become one of the focuses of attention in the circle. Many people in the industry think that Lu Chen is likely to shoot the second part of Autumn in My Heart. After the new year, the phones of Lu Shi and Lu Chen Studio were almost blown up by people. There was an endless stream of people who came to the door to seek cooperation and recommend artists. Even many stars also inquired about the news through various channels. Even Chen Fei was harassed a lot because of this. Her relationship with Lu Qin was not a secret in the circle. It was normal for Flying Stone Records to also come to join in the fun. Lu Qin said, "Big brother Lin, since you want to ask me, shouldn't this coffee be given to me?" Of course, Lu Qin was joking. As a result, Lin Jijie gave him a mocking look. "Is there any difference between giving it to Chen Fei and giving it to you?" "Is there?" "Well, there is no difference." Lu Qin sighed and said, "The plan is to start preparing next month. If everything goes well, filming will probably start in April." Lin Jijie's eyes suddenly lit up. "Is it the second part of Autumn in My Heart?" Lu Qin shook his head. "No, I won't make a sequel to this play. I have an idea for a new play." Even Chen Fei was interested. "What's the content of the story?" Lu Qin told her about the new play, but it didn't involve specific things, such as the outline of the story. Lu Qin said with a smile, "It's a secret for the time being, but the play will not be a tragedy again. You are still the heroine." Chen Fei gave him a white look, but her heart was sweet and happy. Due to unforeseen consequences, Lu Chen and Chen Fei haven't made their relationship public for the time being, but they don't intend to hide it for a long time. The best way is to let fans accept their relationship through this subtle influence. That's right. After Autumn in My Heart was broadcasted, in the eyes of many fans, the two were the best CP combination. "Your career is getting bigger and bigger," Lin Jijie sighed heartily. As one of the 4 judges of Singing China, he could be said to have watched Lu Qin become famous all the way to the present. The music director of Flying Stone Records said, "Your sister told me that you intend to change the studio's location." Lu Qin replied frankly, "Yes, I merged a music studio and am going to build a high-specification recording studio. The place I rented now is too small. If there is a suitable place here, it would be best. A man who makes music should have his own recording studio. Lin Jijie said with a smile, that's what my mentor once told me. I really envy you. You're also very lucky. I know a friend who has opened a large art studio here. Now he intends to transfer half of the site. The sublease fee is not cheap, but it's enough to accommodate your new studio. Is this good news? Lu Qin was surprised, really. He didn't expect to be able to take root in the art park. The property here was too popular, and there was no spare space at all, so even if he shared it with others, it would be lucky. Lin Jijie is a professional. If he says it's enough, it must be enough. Lin Jijie nodded, of course it's true. It's also a coincidence that my friend needs money recently. Otherwise, he would never be willing to divide half of his territory. There's no time like the present. Since you're here today, I'll bring you over to talk to him now. Lu Qin was grateful, thank you, big brother Lin. I really troubled you. He was secretly admiring in his heart. Lin Jijie just asked him if he had any plans to shoot a new drama. After asking, he no longer said what he thought, but first proposed to help. In this way, once the matchmaking was successful, he would owe him a favor. Lin Jijie's way of dealing with people was very quiet, which was worth learning. Of course, Lu Qin himself was also very happy, and deeply felt the importance of networking. Without Lin Jijie, if others wanted to sublease the venue, he wouldn't even get the news, let alone talk about it. Chapter 310. Lin Jijie's friend, Yu Jizhong, opened an art studio in the New Era Art Park. Yu Jizhong's studio was not far from the headquarters of Flying Stone Records, and it was only a 5-minute walk away. It was located in a unique building composed of large areas of glass and steel frames, separated by a green belt and an art square. The buildings in the New Era Art Park were very distinctive. There were basically no high-rise buildings here. Most of the buildings were only 2 or 3 stories high, and Yu Jizhong's studio was no exception. On the first floor, except for the front desk, most of the space was given over to the exhibition hall for displaying art. The main exhibits included oil paintings, small sculptures, photographic works and modern art. Upstairs, the second floor, was the art workshop, including a painting room, a sculpture room, an office and so on. Lu Qin met Yu Jizhong in the painting room. The artist appeared to be in his 40s or 50s. He wore a set of work clothes stained with oil paint. He was stocky, with a large face, thick eyebrows, and bright eyes. He had the typical messy hair and beard of an artist. Lin Jijie introduced him to the two. Lu Qin, this is Yu Jizhong, teacher Yu, a real artist. Lu Qin immediately reached out and said, hello, teacher Yu, I've heard a lot about you. In fact, he didn't know the other party at all, nor had he heard of this person's name. It was nothing more than a polite greeting. This is Lu Qin, a musician, who has his own studio. Chen Fei had gone back early, so only Lu Qin came with Lin Jijie. Yu Jizhong probably didn't watch entertainment news. He looked at Lu Qin calmly, and probably didn't know Lu Qin. He shook hands with the latter indifferently and said, hello. Lin Jijie said with a smile, old Yu, Lu Qin wants to rent your land. You have to give me some face. Yu Jizhong's face finally showed a smile, let's talk in my office. With Lin Jijie's matchmaking, Yu Jizhong still gave him quite a lot of face. He changed into a clean set of clothes and asked his assistant to bring him tea. They chatted like friends in the office. The building occupied by Yu Jizhong's studio alone had a usable area of about 1,800 square meters. Yu Jizhong could at most allocate 1,000 square meters of space to make it a shared rental. Of course, the subletting fee was not small. According to the artist, as long as he released the news, there would be people willing to rent it at a high price. This location was considered very good in the entire art park. Since Lu Chen was Lin Jijia's friend, he was willing to give Lu Chen priority, but there was a condition. If you're involved in music, you can't disturb us. Otherwise, we won't be able to negotiate no matter how high the price is. Lu Chen smiled and said, "That's easy. When I redecorate the place, I promise to make sure that it's soundproof." The soundproofing of the recording studio was the best, and there was no noise problem. The only trouble was the practice room, but as long as the decoration was in place, it would definitely not affect the neighbors. The office was also afraid of noise. Yu Jizhong's words proved that this matter was basically not a big problem. As for the subletting price, it needed to be discussed by both sides again. It couldn't be settled in a few words. In general, it was very smooth. The communication between both sides was quite pleasant. Yu Jizhong didn't have the strange temper of an artist. But when it was time to say goodbye, he suddenly seemed to think of something and asked, "Lu Chen, did you write a song called Blue Lotus?" Lu Chen was stunned. Yes." Yu Jizhong nodded and said, "I've heard it. It's a very good song." When Lu Chen returned to the studio, it was almost dark. It was already off work, and there was no one in the office, but the manager's room was still lit. He went to have a look and found that Lu Shi was still working in front of the computer, and her fingers were typing quickly on the keyboard. Lu Chen said, "Sister, it's late. Let's go to dinner together." Lu Shi turned her head and asked, "Where's Fei?" Lu Chen said, "She has other things to do. By the way, the new studio has been found. I went to see it in the afternoon. It's very suitable. You have to go and talk to them about the rent tomorrow." Lu Shi was surprised. So fast. Did Director Lin help? Lu Chen nodded. Yes, she really helped a lot this time. I owe her a big favor. He said, "Let's go. We'll talk while eating." "Don't worry." Lu Shi held the mouse and opened a web page and said, "Take a look at this first." "What?" Lu Chen walked over curiously and found that Lu Shi had opened his personal Tieba. Although his Tieba was established by fans and netizens, Lu Chen's studio also had management rights after passing the qualification certification. Therefore, it was semi-official, and it was also within the scope of Lu Shi's work. In the future, when Lu Chen's studio moved and expanded, the work in this area would definitely be separated and handled by someone else. In his Tieba, the top page was marked in red, and it was a post about someone who had been skinned. Lu Chen quickly browsed through the post and found that the person who was skinned was a guy with the ID, Heavy Metal Element. This person was not a fan member of Lu Chen's Tieba, but he had made many comments in the Tieba. The posts of Heavy Metal Element were basically attacks. It was very common for some people to like and dislike stars and idols. This reflected on the internet. If there were real fans, there would naturally be haters. The Tieba would not be full of praises. Under normal circumstances, as long as there were no bad situations, such as slanderous words, personal attacks, or rumors, the Tieba administrator would not randomly delete posts and retain a certain amount of dissident voices. But last night, when Lu Chen won the Best Newcomer award and the fans and the Tieba celebrated, this Heavy Metal Element jumped out and said strange things. He also bet with others that Lu Chen could not win the Best Composition award. In the end, after being slapped in the face, he pretended to be dead, which completely angered many fans. Therefore, some experienced and skilled fans started to track down Heavy Metal Element, wanting to find out his true identity. By tracking the traces left by Heavy Metal Element in the Tieba, they really did find something. This heavy metal element's true identity turned out to be Ling Xiaoxiao's assistant. Ling Xiaoxiao could be considered Lu Chen's old enemy. The grudge between the two could be traced back to when Lu Chen had just debuted. However, at that time, the two could be said to be on the same starting line. Now, they were on completely different levels. Ling Xiaoxiao's assistant actually ran to Lu Chen's Chiba to stir up trouble. It was both surprising and not that unbelievable. The technical fans found a very complete chain of evidence, and the final direction was clear and unmistakable. It could be considered a very successful human flesh operation, so it was published on the Chiba to denounce it. In this pinned post, someone also pointed out that it was very likely that Ling Xiaoxiao used his assistant's account to scold Lu Chen. What a clown! After reading the post, Lu Chen could not help but shake his head, feeling that it was very funny. He said, "Don't worry about it, let's go eat." In Lu Chen's heart, this trivial matter was really not as important as him eating with his sister. Ling Xiaoxiao. He had almost forgotten this name. Chapter 311. Lu Chen's fan group was first established when he was a host of Whale TV. Most of the groups that like to watch live broadcasts on the internet are otaku. Although the general public opinion of otaku is not high, they are young, single, like games, have been on the internet for a long time, lack of social work experience, and so on. But there are also strong otaku, and that is technical otaku. Perhaps in reality, technical otaku do not even have the ability to kill a chicken, but in the internet world, there is no shortage of people who can call the wind and summon the rain. Heavy Metal Element obviously underestimated the power of Lu Chen's fan group. He thought that no one would recognize him with a sock puppet. As a result, his true identity was found out. The real name of Heavy Metal Element is Gavin. He is Ling Xiaoxiao's latest assistant. Technogeeks follow the vine to the melon through various internet clues and dig out his identity and origin. With conclusive evidence, Lu Chen's fans immediately bombarded Ling Xiaoxiao's blog and post bar. Some people even made human flesh pictures and posted them on the internet. They took screenshots of all the remarks of Heavy Metal Element that ridiculed and attacked Lu Chen and used them as a weapon to slap Ling Xiaoxiao's face. Our Lu Chen won 2 big awards. Someone must be so jealous that his teeth fell off, right? Gee, I'm so jealous of him. There are so many villains in the entertainment industry. If you have the guts, come with me. What's the use of your assistant's sock puppet? Filthy, and shameless. I hate this kind of sissy who backstabs people the most. People drifting in Jianghu, how can they not be stabbed? Fighting in the circle is simply commonplace. There are many star artists who fight each other on the internet, but few people like Ling Xiaoxiao run to Lu Chen's post bar to say sour words. TN, not bad. That's right. Although the ID belongs to Ling Xiaoxiao's assistant Gavin, most people believe that it was Ling Xiaoxiao who posted it himself. They also listed the evidence, common words in the post, writing habits, and so on. Originally, it was not a big deal to use a sock puppet to make sarcastic remarks. Even saints would ridicule them. However, it would be very awkward to be exposed. When Lu Chen and Lu Shi went to eat, the latter also received several interview calls from the media. The noses of the entertainment reporters were extremely sensitive. When the storm started to blow up on the internet, they acted immediately. They wanted to ask for Lu Chen's opinion. It would be best if they could fiercely rebuke Ling Xiaoxiao. That way, the gossip would be easy to write. Celebrities quarreling had always been entertainment reporters' favorite. What's more, one side was the current hot Lu Chen. Unfortunately, Lu Shi didn't give them a chance. No matter which website or newspaper reporter called, she politely replied to them. Never heard of such a thing, no comment. Lu Chen is busy with work. After being Lu Chen's agent for more than half a year, Lu Shi was really trained. She handled these reporters skillfully and easily on the phone, not revealing the slightest bit of information. Of course, if the reporters insisted on writing nonsense, there was nothing they could do about it. Their low moral integrity could make people dumbfounded. It wasn't until they sat down in a small private room in the restaurant that Lu Shi's phone finally stopped ringing. Lu Chen flipped through the menu and asked his sister, "What do you want to eat tonight? Do you want a filet mignon?" "I don't want to eat meat," Lu Shi said with lingering fear. "I've gained a few pounds. Let's have a pot of paella. The food here is pretty good." Lu Chen really wanted to say that paella was also very nutritious, but after thinking about it, he didn't want to pressure his sister. In the end, he had just picked 2 dishes when Lu Shi's phone rang again. Lu Chen was annoyed. "It's dinner time. Turn off your phone." Any success had a price. The price of being a star idol was losing a lot of ordinary people's happiness. Life and work were basically inseparable, and there was not much free time and space. He was still fine. He had already changed his mobile phone, and only his family and friends could be contacted. Lu Shi was miserable. She was on the phone all day long, and she couldn't even have a peaceful meal. This was something that couldn't be helped. If no one really called, it could only mean that she was completely out of luck. Even so, those fly-like entertainment reporters were still very annoying. "Hello, Lu Chen Studio." Lu Shi put the phone to her ear and raised her right index finger to Lu Chen, indicating that she would take the last call. She said a few words to the person on the phone, and her expression became serious. Seeing this, Lu Chen couldn't help but put down the menu in his hand. After chatting with the other party for a while, Lu Shi ended the call. She shook her phone and asked with a smile, "Guess who called us?" Lu Chen sweated. "How can I guess? It should be a good thing." He knew it just by looking at Lu Shi's expression. She even said things like "welcome" and "see you tomorrow" to the other party. It was most likely a good thing had come knocking. Lu Shi smiled and said, "The representative of Korea's SPG Entertainment Company in China. He wants to buy the copyright of Autumn in My Heart." Koreans. Lu Chen was surprised. That was really a good thing. The domestic entertainment industry began to develop rapidly at the end of the last century. Foreign media and entertainment companies had their eyes on this huge market, and a large number of cultural products such as movies, TV series, music, and so on were imported, forming a great impact. Especially in Korea, which was a close neighbor of the mainland, the promotion of the cultural industry was great. The Korean wave formed by Korean dramas and groups swept through most of China, leaving a deep mark in the domestic entertainment industry. For example, the popular little fresh meats in the entertainment industry were Korean pop idols. There was also the trainee system, the manager system, and so on. Many of them copied the routines and rules of Korea. In recent years, many domestic artists had gone to Korea for training, and a large number of Korean stars came to China to make money. Faced with such a situation, the insightful people in the industry were shouting loudly, and even proposed to boycott the Korean wave. In general, the peak of the Korean wave was basically over. The domestic entertainment industry's ability to imitate and learn was extremely strong. After learning from others, they would naturally have to show off their skills and not let the benefits flow out for nothing. However, that could only be regarded as consolidating the domestic base. Domestic stars had very little influence in Korea, and it was difficult for domestic movies and TV series to be introduced to Korea. The latter market was narrow and closed, with a strong sense of xenophobia. The imported films that had decent ratings in Korea were basically well-produced documentaries and historical films. SPG Entertainment was a large artist planning and management company in South Korea. It was one of the top 3 companies in the industry in terms of scale and strength. It had promoted its HOP, SC, and other groups to China and had many master-level songwriters and choreographers. Speaking of SPG Entertainment, there was no one in the domestic entertainment industry who did not know of it. Its representative in China actually came to visit in person, wanting to buy the copyright of Autumn in My Heart. If the news got out, it would not be a problem for it to make the entertainment headlines. Returning to Japan and Korea was the dream of many people in the industry. When Lu Chen first created Autumn in My Heart, he had considered the possibility of the series being exported to Korea in advance. That was because in his dream world, the original Autumn was one of the most classic Korean dramas. That was why he did not even change the names of the characters in the series, and that was the hidden ambition. He did not talk about principles, nor did he talk about winning glory for the country. If Autumn in My Heart could enter the Korean market, then he could use this springboard to export it to Japan, and then enter the Southeast Asian market. In other words, the Korean market was the best touchstone. Once it was successful, it would represent vast benefits. Therefore, when he heard this news, Lu Chen was really happy. SPG, KG, and Han-E, the three major Korean entertainment companies, all had offices in Beijing. SPG Entertainment was the first to come knocking. If it did not come, then Lu Chen could only consider using Chin Fei's connections to contact Korea's KGS TV station. But in this way, he would be in a passive position in the negotiations. Asking for help and being asked were two completely different things. She smiled and said, "I have already made an appointment with them. They will come over at 9:30 tomorrow morning." Lu Chen nodded and said, "Let's talk about it." After dinner, Lu Chen sent Shi back to her place, and then returned to his apartment. He called Chin Fei. Chin Fei was one of the few celebrities in China who had a certain level of fame and influence in Korea. She had participated in many Sino-Korean music festivals organized by KGS TV station, and knew a lot about the situation there. As expected, when Lu Chen mentioned SPG, Chin Fei immediately smiled and said, "I know. SPG's representative in China is Park Young-ho. He has been in China for almost 10 years, and is a real China expert." Lu Chen's heart skipped a beat, and he asked, "What's his personality like?" Tomorrow's meeting would definitely involve specific negotiations. Although he really hoped to be able to broadcast Autumn in My Heart in Korea, he would not sign a contract that could only be described as humiliating. In the past, in order to promote their works in Japan and Korea, the contracts they signed were almost free, and they even proudly promoted their works in foreign markets. In the end, it was exposed, and they lost face. Autumn in My Heart had to be sold, and not sold cheaply. Chin Fei has said, "I have dealt with him a few times, and I have heard some things. This park representative is very familiar with the situation in our country. He has a strong personality, and he can stand his ground and not waver." After listening to Chin Fei's description, Lu Chen felt a little troubled. That person was obviously not an easy person to negotiate with. Chin Fei said again, "Park Young-ho has a very good eye, otherwise he wouldn't have been in this position for so many years. Since he has his eyes on our TV series, we can still negotiate. Good luck, young man." Lu Chen couldn't help but laugh. He put aside the topic and continued to talk sweet words to Chin Fei for more than 10 minutes. In the end, Chin Fei was so moved that she almost ran over. Chapter 312. Pu Zhenghao's visit was very low-key. The representative of South Korea's SPG Entertainment Company in China only brought one assistant, and he came directly to visit. He was about 40 years old, slender, and solemn. A pair of narrow eyes hidden behind black-rimmed glasses seemed to flash when he blinked, giving people the impression that he was shrewd and strong. A very difficult person to talk to. Combined with the information he heard from Chen Fei last night, Lu Chen made an intuitive judgment in his heart. Of course, on the surface, he was very polite and enthusiastic. "Hello, Mr. Park. Welcome to my studio." Pu Zhenghao held Lu Chen's hand, and a faint smile appeared on his serious face. "I've heard a lot about Mr. Lu Chen. Please forgive me for disturbing you." His Chinese was perfect. Apart from being a little stiff, it was hard to tell that he was Korean. Lu Shi smiled and said, "Mr. Park is too polite. Please come in and talk." "This is..." Pu Zhenghao was a little surprised, and his eyes fell on Lu Shi. Lu Chen introduced, "This is my agent and my sister, Lu Shi. It's Miss Lu Shi." Pu Zhenghao suddenly understood. He waved to the assistant next to him, and the latter immediately handed over a beautifully packaged box. "It's our first time meeting. This is a small gift. Please accept it, Miss Lu Shi." Lu Shi was stunned, but she still accepted the gift. "Thank you." Both parties sat down in the reception room, and Xiaomei served the guests the tea that had been brewed. Pu Zhenghao was not in a hurry to get down to business. Instead, he chatted with Lu Chen and Lu Shi. This was actually a negotiation technique. Through small talk, one could make people relax their vigilance, and then judge the other party's temper and even hobbies. Then, one could use a targeted negotiation strategy. Although Pu Zhenghao looked serious when he came in, he talked about the interesting anecdotes in the entertainment industry. He also praised Lu Chen's original talent and thought that Lu Chen deserved to win the Best Newcomer and Best Composer of the Asian Chinese Top Songs chart. Pu Zhenghao also attended the award ceremony of the Asian Chinese Music Chart and saw Lu Chen go on the stage to receive the award. Through this exchange, the two parties went from strangers to familiarizing themselves with each other. The atmosphere of the conversation was relaxed and warm. Although Lu Chen had always been wary of Pu Yongho, he had to admit that this middle-aged Korean was quite capable. His speech and mannerisms were impeccable. After talking about the Golden Melody Awards ceremony, Pu Zhenghao talked about Autumn in My Heart. "This is the best TV series I've seen this year." The representative from South Korea's SPG Entertainment was not stingy with his praises. "Whether it's the plot, the graphics, or the soundtrack, they are all top-notch. I really hope that this drama can be imported to South Korea and be seen by our domestic audience. That's why I'm here." Speaking of this, Pu Zhenghao looked extremely confident. "Our SPG Entertainment has a good cooperative relationship with KBS and MBC. KBS and MBC were the number 1 and number 2 TV stations in South Korea. No matter which TV station Autumn in My Heart appeared on, it would be a great success." Different from China, South Korean audiences like to watch variety shows and TV series the most. Moreover, their young people were also used to watching these two shows on TV, unlike China, which had two major markets, the internet and the screen. South Korea's national TV series were phenomenal TV series. The ratings could even reach more than 50%, which was unimaginable in China now. It was about the same 20 to 30 years ago. To be honest, Pu Zhenghao's attitude surprised Lu Chen and Lu Shi. As the saying goes, the buyer is the one who dislikes the goods. During negotiations, it was most common to deliberately lower the evaluation of the other party's goods. Very few people would praise the other party first. However, when it came to the specific terms, both of them realized that they were too naive. Pu Zhenghao's copyright fee for Autumn in My Heart was 800 million won. It sounded like a huge sum, but in fact, it was less than 5 million in domestic currency. As an imported TV series, SPG Entertainment was a middleman. They would definitely make a profit if they sold it to the TV station. Considering the difficulty of entering the South Korean market, this price was really not bad. In the past, there was a large domestic film and television company that invested over 100 million to shoot a 45-episode historical drama. It was sold to South Korea for only 500 million won. Later, it was revealed that the middleman's rebate was as high as 200 million. Autumn in My Heart only had 20 episodes. Even if it was very popular in China, it was definitely worth publicizing to be able to sell it to South Korea at such a price. However, there were conditions. Pu Zhenghao also had his eyes on Lu Chen's new TV series this year and made a request to invest. His appetite was not small. Logically speaking, it was a good thing to have investment, but it also depended on the situation. The super high ratings of Autumn in My Heart and the impact it has caused in the domestic film and TV market have made Lu Chen's new drama a hot cake in the eyes of countless people. There are a lot of people rushing to send money, and there is no worry about investors at all. With Autumn in My Heart as the bottom, as long as the new TV series wasn't too bad, with just Lu Chen as the main character, profits were inevitable. There was no need to worry about losing money at all. Moreover, once they could invest in it, they would have the right to speak about the actors' roles, which was also a great benefit. SPG Entertainment also trained artists in China and had also participated in the production of many films and variety shows. They deeply understood the doorway. Today, they sent Pu Zhenghao to Lu Chen's studio to discuss the introduction of Autumn in My Heart. The drunkard had ulterior motives. Regarding Pu Zhenghao's request, Lu Chen and Lu Shi looked at each other. They couldn't agree to such a condition. With the success of Autumn in My Heart, Lu Chen was now full of confidence. He didn't mind bringing in investors in the new TV series, but SPG Entertainment wasn't a good choice. Lu Chen knew very well that compared to a big company like SPG Entertainment, even if it was a foreign company, his own studio was at a clear disadvantage. Once they brought in the other party's investment, it was very likely that they would be held back. Most importantly, his current development was first and foremost based in China. It was good to be able to open up the Korean market, but it would be stupid if he lost his own interests because of this. After thinking about it, Lu Chen said to Pu Zhenghao, "Mr. Park, I'm sorry, but I can't agree to this condition." Lu Chen's straightforward refusal made Pu Zhenghao unable to help revealing a look of astonishment. He came full of confidence, believing that he would definitely be able to convince Lu Chen, SPG's investment and the temptation of bringing in Korea. Who could resist it? In the end, he never expected Lu Chen to refuse so decisively. Chapter 313. Business negotiations were not child's play, especially when it involved high interests. It often took a battle of wits and courage to reach a final compromise or give up. SPG Entertainment, or rather, Pu Zhenghao, was sincere about importing Autumn in My Heart to South Korea. However, his appetite was too big for Lu Chen to accept. However, the specific conditions could be discussed. Pu Zhenghao's first visit was obviously more to test the waters. Of course, he would be very satisfied if they could negotiate directly. However, Lu Chen's firm attitude towards his own interests had hit a wall. If it was the executives of other Japanese and Korean entertainment companies, they might be very unhappy. Many of them were used to being high and mighty and had a high attitude towards the domestic entertainment industry. They thought that they could casually throw out something and it would attract a group of people to fight over it. Pu Zhenghao was different. He had settled down and worked in China for more than 10 years. He was well versed in China's culture and had a deep understanding of the domestic entertainment industry. Therefore, he knew very well about Lu Chen's strength. In the eyes of the representative of SPG Entertainment's China office, Lu Chen was China's Kim Hyun-ping. Kim Hyun-ping was the most famous artist in South Korea from 2000 to 2010. He had amazing talent and had composed many classic music works. Moreover, he was tall and handsome. The television dramas and movies he had filmed had caused a sensation and had a wide influence throughout Asia. However, 6 years ago, Kim Hyun-ping was not satisfied with the South Korean entertainment industry. He also looked down on the China market and ambitiously went to Hollywood. In the end, he did not make a name for himself there for a few years and became a special supporting role set up by the American film company for the Asian market. He lost a lot of popularity in South Korea. Lu Chen was very similar to Kim Hyun-ping, who had just debuted. They were both talent shows. They were both tall and handsome, both talented, both outstanding musicians, and both young and energetic. Compared to the narrow and competitive market in South Korea, China's entertainment market was too big. It was like a vast ocean that could accommodate the growth of a dragon. Therefore, as long as Lu Chen did not court death, his development potential was limitless. SPG Entertainment being able to establish a good relationship with such a person was equivalent to investing in a stock with high potential. That was why Pu Young-ho offered a high price of 800 million won to purchase Blue in the first round of negotiations to show his sincerity. The conditions he added later were more of a test. It didn't matter if they couldn't come to an agreement. As long as they didn't fall out with each other, they could continue to negotiate. The so-called bottom line was tested step by step like this. It was precisely with such a position that the negotiations between the two sides were relatively harmonious, and there was no situation of swords being drawn. Pu Zhenghao sat in Lu Chen's studio for 2 hours before leaving. After sending off the representative of SPG Entertainment's China office, Lu Chen felt as if he had just finished a battle. He was a little tired. Chen Fei's understanding of Pu Zhenghao was still too simple. This old fox was really hard to deal with. His character was tough, but it wasn't just tough. There was a hint of gentleness in his toughness that hid needles in silk floss. Lu Chen said to Lu Shi, "If there's a chance in the future, I want to poach him." Lu Shi was speechless. She had been Lu Chen's agent for more than half a year, and she knew more and more about the entertainment industry, so she knew very well that a character like Pu Zhenghao was not someone her studio could afford to poach. The domestic entertainment industry was greatly affected by South Korea. Many big companies also poached people from their South Korean counterparts, such as arrangers, choreographers, producers, directors, etc., and there were artists directly. But in general, those who could be poached were basically second or third-rate characters. Pu Zhenghao was the representative of SPG Entertainment's China office, a real high-level figure. If he wanted to change his tune, he would only choose a big company like Flying Stone Records. How could he come to Lu Chen's studio? Lu Chen's idea was too naive. Of course, Lu Chen saw Lu Shi's disapproval. He didn't explain in detail, because now was not the time. It was true that Pu Zhenghao was a senior executive of SPG Entertainment, but this senior executive of SPG was a marginalized figure. He worked hard to expand the market in China. He had worked hard even if he had no credit, but his position had never been moved. Because Pu Zhenghao was not a direct descendant of the current chairman of SPG, but a former confidant. South Korea's corporate system was learned from Japan. When South Korea's economy took off in the 1980s and 1990s, it played a very important role, giving birth to more than a dozen giant companies, such as the famous Samsung. But since entering the new century, with the rapid development of new industries, South Korea's corporate system has been severely impacted by the new culture. The rigid bureaucratic internal management and the promotion path based on seniority, coupled with the power struggle at the top, have caused many companies to close down or face difficult predicaments. SPG was one of the top entertainment companies in South Korea. It had not been established for a long time, and it was also a family-run enterprise. After the chairman who originally appreciated Pu Zhenghao abdicated, he was pressed down in SPG's China office. In fact, in terms of contributions, Pu Zhenghao was fully qualified to return to South Korea to be promoted to a higher position. In addition, Pu Zhenghao was not a pure Korean. His father was a northeastern Korean who had immigrated to South Korea in his early years. This insider information was revealed to Lu Chen by Chen Fei. She had specially inquired about it from an insider, and it was considered an open secret in a certain circle. Many people did not believe that Pu Zhenghao would stay at SPG forever, but so far, he had not shown any signs of leaving SPG. Through the previous conversation, Lu Chen had the most intuitive impression of Pu Zhenghao, and admired his shrewdness. If such a person who was proficient in Chinese and Korean could be recruited, the benefits were self-evident, especially since Lu Chen had always had the ambition to look to the Asian market. Of course, Lu Chen's studio was still too weak now, and it was a little unrealistic to covet a talent like Pu Zhenghao, but opportunities were always given to those who were prepared. Lu Chen said, "Sister, we must negotiate for the location of the art park. It doesn't matter if the price is high." Setting up roots in the art park was a very important step for the studio to expand. It was not just a matter of a larger area, but the most important thing was the location and environment, which were very suitable for the studio's survival and development. She nodded. She had already arranged to talk with Yu Jizhong in the afternoon. When it came to the specific contract negotiations, Lu Chen did not participate. However, the subletting went smoothly. Lu Chen brought Chen Xian over to talk with Yu Jizhong for the whole afternoon, and they signed the official contract. The New Era Art Center in Beijing, which was also known as the Art Park, was completed in 2001. The properties there were limited uses, and some of them had been bought out by companies, while the rest were for rent. The place of Yu Jizhong's art studio was rented from the management committee of the art center, but it was a long-term contract, and he had the priority to renew it. Now he was transferring part of the lease to Lu Chen. This was in line with the rules. As long as it did not exceed the limited scope of business, the management committee of the art park allowed subletting. However, the price of Yu Jizhong's original lease was definitely different from the current one. After signing the contract, Lu Shi made a budget that night, calculating the cost of moving the studio. The rent, decoration, recording studio construction, etc., would cost at least 15 million yuan. Then he was entrusting Li Mubai to help him approve the charity fund. The registered capital of 20 million yuan needed to be spent 10 million yuan, and this part of the money could not be touched according to the regulations. In this way, 25 million yuan would be spent, and a new drama would be released this year. The studio's investment would definitely account for a large proportion, so the money earned by Autumn in My Heart would be far from enough. Lu Shi also specially reminded Lu Chen that he signed the contract of Chen Fei, or his transfer of the house. Even if he paid off 30 million yuan in 5 years, he still had to pay back 6 million yuan a year. In this way, Lu Chen found that he had become a poor man again, and he owed a lot of debt. Ha ha ha, after listening to Lu Chen's complaints, Chen Fei laughed very happily on the phone. Then you should write a few more songs for others, and then you can earn back the money. As a representative of the new generation of domestic singer-songwriters, and also won 2 awards in the Asian Chinese music chart, Lu Chen was definitely a hot figure in the pop music world, and there were many people who wanted to buy songs from him. If Lu Chen could really make up his mind to write songs, it was really not a problem to earn tens of millions of yuan, because in his memory, there were thousands of excellent music works. It was just that he never thought of being a song wholesaler, and he would not squander this precious wealth at will. On the one hand, it raised the threshold for song invitations, and on the other hand, it also screened the partners for cooperation. Now Lu Chen Studios' offer to the public was 500,000 yuan for a song, which reached the top level in the industry. This offer scared most people away, and it also caused a lot of discussion in the circle. Chen Fei's teasing came from this. Lu Chen said with a smile, "Don't think about others for the time being. Do your album well first. That's the most important thing." "That's really nice. Do you want me to lend you some money?" A woman who fell in love could not listen to sweet words. Chen Fei's EQ and IQ were both coaxed by these words. You don't have to worry about that contract. It doesn't matter if you give me money later. If Lu Chen was determined to be a gigolo who lived off a woman, he would definitely be very successful. But he just wanted to put on airs. No need, I can still do it without writing songs. Of course, Lu Chen's self-confidence was not without reason, because as a star, especially a popular star artist, has an important channel to make a lot of money, that is, brand endorsement. And among all the brands that are currently interested in cooperating with Lu Chen, Zhonghua Automobile is undoubtedly the largest. Chapter 314. Lu Chen is very cautious about brand endorsements. Many stars, especially those new artists who have suddenly become popular in recent years, often adopt the strategy of draining the pond to fish when it comes to brand endorsements. They desperately work for notices and advertisements, which is jokingly called double high advertisement in the circle. The emergence of the double high phenomenon, on the one hand, stems from the pressure of some entertainment agencies on contracted artists, squeezing out as much profit as possible during the contract period, and not looking for the future. There are also some artists who are willing to do this, because the competition in the entertainment industry is too fierce. Most artists are under great pressure to survive. If they don't work hard to make money when they are popular, what else can they get once they are out of it? So they desperately accept all kinds of advertisements, even those high-risk endorsements. However, artists who are based on long-term development are often very cautious and thoughtful about brand endorsements. Lu Chen listened to Chen Fei's opinion on brand endorsements. Chen Fei is one of the current domestic advertising queens. She endorses domestic and international big brands, with at least tens of millions of endorsement fees a year. She has rich experience in this regard. The advice that Chen Fei provided to Lu Chen was first to choose carefully, such as financial products, medicine and healthcare products, medical and medical equipment, agricultural products such as seeds, pesticides, breeding and so on. It is best not to touch them. The risk of these advertising endorsements is relatively high. Once there is a problem with the product, it will often affect the reputation of the endorser, and even cause trouble in lawsuits. There are not one or two stars who have been sued or stumbled because of careless endorsement. Even Chen Fei almost suffered in this regard, so she is now very careful in choosing advertisements. Naturally, she does not want Lu Chen to repeat the mistakes of others. So far, Lu Chen has mainly endorsed two brands. One is Whale TV, the other is Senki Apparel, and the cooperation between the two has been very successful. To put it bluntly, the benefits that Lu Chen's endorsement bring to the two companies far exceed the remuneration he receives. For this reason, Whale TV and Senki Apparel intend to renew next year, and the new contract will inevitably rise. With the popularity of Autumn in My Heart, the number of brands that came to Lu Chen for advertising cooperation suddenly increased, and the most important one was undoubtedly Zhonghua Automobile. Zhonghua Automobile is one of the oldest and most prestigious domestic automobile brands. Its predecessor can be traced back to 70 years ago. The brand Zhonghua was established with the New China. In the early 1950s, Zhonghua Jeep once drove across the Yalu River with the Liberation Truck, and made great achievements in the war to resist the United States and aid Korea, becoming a well-known brand in China. However, since the reform and opening up in the 1980s, foreign brands of cars have entered the domestic market, and the market share of Zhonghua Motors has shrunk dramatically, almost to the verge of bankruptcy. With the support of the country, this national brand finally survived the most difficult period and was reborn through the introduction of technology, independent research, and other methods. After Lu Chen's debut, the first car he bought in Beijing was Zhonghua's newly launched X7. This gasoline-electric hybrid urban SUV could be described as cheap and good, and it was currently driven by Lu Xi. And it was precisely the Zhonghua X7 that Lu Chen bought that made Zhonghua Automobile choose him as the new brand spokesperson. At least that's a very important reason. Of course, as a car company with an annual output of tens of billions, Zhonghua Automobile is very cautious in the choice of brand spokesperson. They chose Lu Chen first because the latter's influence among young people is growing. In addition, Lu Chen's image has always been very good since his debut. Lu Chen won the championship of Singing China, which was also a small factor for Zhonghua Automobile to choose him. Then he participated in Beijing TV's National Day Party and created a positive theme work like, I Love You China. He once bravely saved people regardless of danger, and also raised donations to help fans. Now he is preparing to set up a leukemia charity fund. With all these factors, it's really not a problem to be named one of the top 10 outstanding youths at the provincial and municipal levels. In contrast, how much Lu Chen's solo albums sold and how high the ratings of his TV series were not the key factors. With harsh requirements, the treatment is naturally generous. Zhonghua Automobile offered Lu Chen a 2-year contract of 12 million yuan. Because of the many detailed terms involved, the contract could not be finalized in a day or two. Zhonghua Automobile hoped that Lu Chen could participate in the promotion and publicity activities of their newly launched R-Class station wagon. The specific requirement was to shoot a commercial, and Lu Chen was asked to tailor-make a song for the commercial. Because of the importance of this contract, Lu Chen, together with his studio, focused his current work on Zhonghua Automobile. Lu Shi continued to negotiate with the other party for the most favorable conditions, while he himself was working on creative ideas for Zhonghua Automobile's new product. Station wagons are a derivative of cars derived from the trend of people advocating nature and being keen on tourism. Compared with SUVs and MPVs, their purchase price and use cost are lower, and they have a more dexterous body, which is easy to drive and park. Therefore, they play an important role in the life of people in economically developed countries, especially in Europe. However, in China, station wagons are a niche model. They have not been introduced at all because they are not suitable for the domestic market demand. However, with the improvement of the material living standards of domestic consumers, it has become a new fashion for urban car owners to take family or friends, drive a station wagon, and go on a long trip together on holidays. Especially for young people, driving a station wagon to travel is a very romantic and pretentious thing, and it has been rendered dreamlike by many literary and artistic youths. Similar car travel articles can often be seen in some fashion magazines. Zhonghua Automobile is aiming at this emerging market and launched its first station wagon, the R100. Lu Chen first spent 2 days digesting and studying the relevant information sent by Zhonghua Automobile, and then searched for and browsed a lot of advertisements for foreign station wagons on the internet. During this period, he wrote a song and gave it to Wang Jing to arrange, and let the Nirvana band practice accompaniment. Finally, it took a week for Lu Chen to create and edit a music video to be used as the commercial demonstration of the R100. It was equivalent to doing part of the work that belonged to the advertising company. After that, Lu Chen asked Lu Shi to contact Zhonghua Automobile and demonstrate this music video advertisement to them. Chapter 315. Beijing, CBD Central Business District, Meisher Advertising Company. The morning sun shone through the large format floor-to-ceiling windows and fell into Zhuang Jingwei's office, bright and warm. The creative director of Meisher Advertising Company leaned back in the soft chair, picked up the coffee that his assistant had just brewed and took a sip, and his whole body seemed to warm up. But the mellow coffee didn't help to relieve the depression in his heart, and his frowning eyebrows never relaxed. He didn't even have the mood to pick up the newspaper that he used to read every day. Tap! Tap! The office door was gently knocked. Zhuang Jingwei put down his coffee cup and said in a deep voice, "Come in." The door was pushed open, and a beautiful female assistant leaned in and said, "Director, the people from Zhonghua Automobile and Luchin Studio are here. The general manager asked you to attend the meeting." Zhuang Jingwei nodded and said, "I see." He picked up his coffee cup again. The female assistant hesitated for a moment, but still reminded him, "Director, the general manager asked you to go there immediately." Zhuang Jingwei stared at her and said, "I know, you only have the general manager in your eyes now, and you don't have me, right?" The 40-year-old man's fierce appearance was quite scary, but the female assistant was not afraid at all. She stuck out her tongue and said with a smile, "I have to listen to your words, and I have to listen to the general manager's words. I'll go with you. I heard that Lu Qin himself is also here." Speaking of Lu Qin, her eyes were shining. "I don't know if he is as handsome in real life as he is on TV. There is no doubt that she is also a fan of Autumn in My Heart." Zhuang Jingwei rubbed his eyebrows, waved his hand and said, "Go, go, I'll go." Zhuang Jingwei's assistant is his niece, who is still a senior intern. She just wants to learn something from him. The girl has been spoiled by her family and is not afraid of him. It's useless to scold her with a straight face. So, Zhuang Jingwei decided to send her away when her internship period is over. He really can't afford to serve her. And when he heard the name Lu Qin, Zhuang Jingwei's mood was a little worse. Who is Lu Qin? He has only heard of him by chance before. Now he has understood him clearly. He knows that the other party is a musical talent, a new generation of singer, and has just starred in a TV series with popular ratings, which has fascinated his niece. Tn, as the creative director of Meisher Advertising Company, Zhuang Jingwei has known and dealt with a lot of star artists, but he has never seen Lu Qin overconfident. The cause of the matter was the contract between Zhonghua Automobile and Advertising Company. The domestic top 100 companies entrusted the advertising business to Meisher Advertising Company to the new station wagon launched this year, and selected Lu Qin as the brand ambassador. It was very common for stars to endorse advertisements. After understanding the needs of the clients, Meisher Advertising began to work on relevant advertising plans. The first focus was the commercial for the Zhonghua Vision R100 station wagon. When Zhuang Jingwei racked his brains for this commercial and had a preliminary idea, there was suddenly news from Zhonghua Automobile that Lu Qin had personally edited and produced an R100 commercial demo. When Zhuang Jingwei was racking his brains for this commercial and had a preliminary idea, news suddenly came from Zhonghua Automobile that Lu Qin had personally edited and produced an R100 commercial demo. Not only that, but Zhonghua Automobile hoped that Meisher Advertising would take Lu Qin's creativity seriously, and held a tripartite discussion meeting for this group of poor people, and the location was in Meisher Company. Zhuang Jingwei felt that his professional ability had been seriously challenged, and he couldn't bear it. If Lu Qin originally majored in art design and advertising, it would be understandable. But as far as Zhuang Jingwei knew, the entertainment industry rookie majored in computer science in college. Computers and advertising are not completely unrelated, but they are really two different things. Now he has openly brought the so-called commercial demo to Meisher Company. What's the difference between that and going to the door to challenge them? If it's an insider, he can pinch his nose and admit it, but a layman, most importantly, Zhuang Jingwei's painstaking creativity may be wasted. How can he not be depressed and annoyed? In the advertising industry, the most frightening thing is to encounter clients who don't understand and insist on their own opinions, interfering with the creative concept of the company's design, and finally come up with something nondescript. But even if he is annoyed, Zhuang Jingwei can't be willful. Unless he gives up the job, he can't disobey the general manager's order. But on the way to the conference room, he secretly made up his mind to make his voice heard. The conference room of Meisher Advertising Company was almost full of people. Zhuang Jingwei met the person in charge of Zhonghua Automobile, his colleagues, and Lu Qin. Among all of them, Lu Qin is undoubtedly the most conspicuous. He is tall, young and handsome, with a warm and kind smile. Even if he is prejudiced against him, Zhuang Jingwei has to admit that he is a very charming star. This kind of star has his own aura, which can make those fans fascinated. For example, the girl sitting next to the general manager, her eyes were shining like stars, and she almost rushed over to ask for an autograph and a group photo. Director Zhuang is here. Seeing Zhuang Jingwei come in, Kai Jin, the general manager of Meisher Advertising Company, waved and said, "Come here and sit down." Kai Jin, 35 years old, joined Meisher Advertising Company 7 years ago. The elite who returned from overseas studies rose all the way to the general manager's throne and also brought Meisher into the ranks of the 10 4A advertising companies in Beijing. In terms of management skills and ability, Zhuang Jingwei also admires her. He sat down in his seat. Kai Jin gave Zhuang Jingwei a discreet look. Zhuang Jingwei understood what she meant. Kai Jin's management in Meisher has always adhered to an important concept in the service industry, that is, there are two elements in treating customers. The first is, the customer is always right, and the second is, if the customer is wrong, please refer to the first point. This is in conflict with Zhuang Jingwei's professional concept, but it turns out that Kai Jin is right. Advertising is like dancing with shackles. It is necessary to find the most suitable balance point under the heavy shackles of policies and regulations and customer requirements, and then jump out a beautiful dance. There is no doubt about the importance of Zhuang Jingwei's automobile to Meisher Advertising Company. Kai Jin is obviously worried that Zhuang Jingwei, who is a little stubborn, will conflict with the customer's requirements in the creative concept of the R100 commercial. When all the people attending the meeting were present, Kai Jin asked people to close the door of the conference room and turned on the computer projection equipment. She straightened up and said with a smile, "Today, our Meisher Advertising Company is very happy and honored to organize this demonstration discussion of the Zhonghua Vision R100 station wagon commercial. First of all, we welcome Manager Chen Hong from the Publicity Department of Zhonghua Automobile Group. The general manager of Meisher Advertising Company has a dignified and delicate appearance, and speaks in a soft voice, which makes people feel like they are bathing in the spring breeze, but no one who is familiar with her dares to underestimate her ability. Welcome Mr. Lu Chen, who is also the star spokesperson of the Vision R100. Lu Chen stood up and bowed slightly to the crowd. He edited and produced the MV commercial for the station wagon he endorses, which is not what Zhuang Jingwei thought. This meeting was proposed by the people of Zhonghua Automobile after watching the demo film. The reason why the discussion was held at Meisher Advertising Company was that this part of the advertising business was entrusted to this 4A advertising company, and Zhonghua Automobile also needed Meisher Advertising's professional advice. When the polite applause of welcome disappeared, Lu Chen continued, "At the request of Zhonghua Automobile, I wrote a song for the first commercial of the Vision R100. In addition, I also used the material on the internet to edit and make it MV for this song." He smiled and said, "I'm a layman when it comes to advertising. This music video is very crude, and it only represents a little of my personal thoughts. So, I hope that Meta TV can give us their professional opinions so that we can work together to complete this collaboration. Thank you." This time, the applause in the conference room was a lot more sincere and warm, and even Zhuang Jingwei applauded a few times. Lu Chen's words gave him a better impression of the former. At least Lu Chen was very polite. Although his behavior was a little excessive, his attitude was modest and he did not take it for granted that he was in a dominant position. That was in line with his identity as a brand spokesperson, not a planner. After Lu Chen's speech ended, Kai Jin asked his assistant to turn off the lights in the conference room and play the demo through the projection. The general manager of Meisher Advertising was also very curious. He didn't know what kind of work Lu Chen had come up with that could make Zhonghua Automobile put aside the preliminary plan proposed by him and choose a layman's creative idea. The next moment, a colorful picture appeared silently on the projection screen. The dark, vast, and empty prairie appeared in everyone's sight. In the lens, a straight road went straight to the distant sky, which made people feel an indescribable shock. Those who liked travel or scenery recognized at a glance that this was the famous Qinghai Tibet Sky Road. Then the camera slowly pulled up, and an off-road vehicle appeared in the picture, driving alone into the distance. The prelude of the music sounded softly, and there was Lu Chen singing. It was as if it came from the sky. Wandering, on the road, are you going, via via? Fragile, proud, that was once my appearance. Seething, restless. Where are you going, via via? Enigmatic, silent. Story, are you really listening? Light and shadow flashed, and the picture switched. People sitting in the conference room unconsciously fell into the unique atmosphere created by the MV. The name of this song was The Ordinary Road. Note, The Ordinary Road lyrics, Han Han, Pu Shu/composer, Pu Shu, you're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.